Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the IrishHotspur, and the big dog is back, baby. Fresh from my 4-day break away, guys, and I am ready to be back talking all things Tottenham Hotspur. Look, really enjoyed spending time with the outlet. Do not get me wrong, but I am glad to be back as this week is hot and up. Of course, we are joined by co-host Jack Kanicki, who done a wonderful job while I was away. I think you'll all agree. Adam William Kale in the house as well from Wild Stag Media, and we will be joined by Danny Kiriakou in a few minutes, just having a couple of camera issues. He's getting them sorted, and he will be joining us. Over 152 people. Oh, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Big up the bun, and welcome the bun, everybody. Already over 163 people in house. Everyone smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. I'm just going to run through the chat quickly, get a few up, see how people are, and then we will get into the news that everyone wants to talk about. Rafinha to Chelsea. Hopefully that means it paves way for Richarlison to Tottenham Hotspur. But look, we've got a few guests on that hopefully all different opinions, so it could get wild here tonight, but we will see how people are first. Who we got first in the house? Which big dog was first in the house? Mick Hermanoff says, good evening, Jack. Any good news? Hopefully there will be some this week, brother. Big up. Luca Barr says, what's up? How y'all doing? We're doing great, my man. I hope you're keeping well. Vine says, hey, Spurs fans, how are y'all doing? We are superb, my man. Fresh from a breakaway now. Just need to go and get the hair and beard trimmed, and I am looking like the modern day Mac. 164 Spurs says, hello, Dave and Jack. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, lad. Big up, Dermot. Great to see you in the house, my man. And the boys are back in town. Mark says, Dave and Jack. Big up, Marky boy. Good to see you in the house. Adrian says, really good signing for Spurs. No one can argue against it unless you hate Richarlison just to hate him. Big up, my man. Big up. Stirring the pot already, Adrian. In nice and early. I love it. Getting it going nice and early. Bjorn, the Norwegian Viking. Big up, my man. He says, not sure about Richarlison at all. Really the best option for 60 million. Look, we will get into it. We will have a chat about that, my man. First of all, I do hope that you did ask Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, the Brickhouse Viking, that you could borrow his name, my man, because I wouldn't want him after me. But big up, Bjorn. Good to see you in the house. Tot943, great to see you, brother. Big yourself up. And he says, big up, Jack. Also, can you smell what the cow is brewing? Big up, Benji boy. Great to see you in. Damianos, my man. Personal terms, brother. Personal terms. Carl Higgins says, good evening, Tottenham crew. Big up, Carboy. Hope you're keeping well. Ricky Nados says, big up, brothers. Great show. Nice to have you back, David. It is great to be back, my man. Nick Coyce, Hardy man, says, come on, you flat cap army. Big up, my man. Vince Vegas also in the building. Big up. We've got Toxic Headshot. Rafinha joins Chelsea. Yeah, look, we'll get into it. Me personally, I'd rather them than Arsenal. I'll explain a bit later on why. At the end of the day, I just don't want to see them, Don Robbie doing the samba dance, as Rafinha comes in. It's embarrassing. You see what they've done with Thomas Partey. I mean, they like to get over themselves, a bit carried away. So we can't be having that. Big up, Toxic. Tequila 316, big yourself up, Flat Cap and Irish. Come on, you Spurs. Wild Rider, big up, my man. Ribsy 85. Good to see you in the house. I was about to say 83. How dare I, man? How dare I? Shamu Van Spurs has won more than us in the last 10 years, lol. Come on now, Shamu. Come on. We hate Arsenal. We hate them, my man. Big yourself up. Rob Coyne, great to see you in the house. Akash Greywall as well. He wants Weston McKennie. Big up, Welsh gal. Island Life. Chris Agenbar.
Big up, Welsh gal.
Great to see you all in the house.
Big up, Chris.
Dark Sun G, big up, brother. Really do appreciate that super chat.
Good to see you, Dark Sun G.
Everybody, feel free to help support the channel with a super chat or two. It's a great way to stop the furious debate going on, or even getting your opinion in there. It basically means you skip the chat. We'll get straight to it, and we'll get your opinion in there in the nice debate that's going on. And we'll also have a good conversation off the back of it. Plus, it really does help myself and Jack out on what we're trying to do here, especially coming into next season. Some good things coming, hopefully. We've seen a bit of what's coming, and it looks good. It looks good. Dark Zone G says, really going to be happy once. Here we go for Richarlison comes out. He is a great player playing for a bad club. Also hoping for one more forward, one more midfielder, 2 centre-backs, and 1 right wing-back. Look, I can't wait to get Richarlison, to be honest with you, Dark Sun G. Look, for me, I've always said that I think this guy is more suited to what we need. I think, look, we do need backup for Harry Kane, which maybe Rafinha does not give us. I think Richarlison, he also has that dogged nature, which we're going to get into the show about, hopefully Tottenham are not Mr. Nice Guys anymore. But look, what I'm getting frustrated on, look, I get they're trying to agree a price, but why is it taking so long? For me, just get it done. Let's concentrate on other targets. That defense is worrying me going into this season. Look, I do think Paratici will get the job done, but I want to see a centre-back or two centre-backs and one right wing back in for sure, Dark Song G. I could not agree more with you there, brother. Yeah. Big up, my man. Big up. And then Dark Song G, he also says, Jack, the best player Gooners will get is Jesus. That is their pull limit, lol. Have Man United made any signings yet, lol? They have none. No pull as well. Jack, what would you say, Dark Song G, my man?
Yeah, I mean, the infamous Erik ten Hag, the bald philosopher, hasn't really had a lot of pull so far. Yet, I guess they've sort of hijacked a deal for a random, kind of fullback out of Feyenoord, who I think is a good player. But I don't know, when you're Man United, you should have all the pull in the world, but they're making it look a lot harder than it really should be, Dark Sun G. And then in the case of the Gooners, I think what we found out was Gabriel Jesus didn't really like what, Spurs were offering him in terms of, the role that he would be playing for Spurs. And then, at Arsenal, Dave, he's being given everything he wants. He gets the wage, he gets, the signing bonus, he gets the position he wants. It's just different levels to this game, Dave. And that's what it really just shows here is that Spurs, they're looking at Jesus as some sort of kind of, I don't know, prolifery, sort of kind of player, some sort of like auxiliary player out there that maybe we use from time to time. Whereas for Arsenal, Dave, it's the guy that's their new main man. So they're just levels to this game, clearly.
Yeah, look, what I will say is he's only scored, I think about 4 more goals than Richarlison in the Premier League, and one's playing for title-winning team, and the other has been battling down the relegation with Watford and Everton. I mean, I know who I want, and the fact that this guy is only going to be come in and be a squad player rather than the main guy where we're looking for goals. And look, it says everything, to be honest with you, that Pep Guardiola refused to play this guy up front and opted to go with no striker this season. In fact, even employing Jesus on the wing. And look, we can all, people were making out that Guardiola's amazing. Fuck me, he's come up with this new sort of style of playing. No, strikers, what's this? Everyone, having a good out stroke to it. It's unbelievable. But what they didn't really want to take into account is that this guy actually really wanted Harry Kane. He could not get their striker target. He knew Gabriel Jesus was not good enough to deliver what he wanted. So he opted to go without a striker instead of using Gabriel Jesus. Mind-blowing. Just goes to show I would much rather Richarlison just from that alone, to be honest with you. But big up, Dark Sun G, brother. Really do appreciate the support. Spurs Talk Show, a new member. Big up, Shawnee boy. Hope you're keeping well, brother. Big
Welcome to the Flat Cap Armies, Sean. You were already in there, my man, and you already even had your own flat cap that had been chewed up several times, yet he wanted to make it even more certified, Dave. Big up, Sean. Really appreciate it, brother.
Big up, Shawnee boy. Big up, my man. A good stream earlier, by the way. Big yourself up, brother. You're doing some crazy hours on the streams, my man. Big up. It's great to see you. It's great to see you flourishing, Shawnee. Ben Kaufman says, everyone knows that Kauf loves a Brazilian. I'm not sure whether you mean a wax or a player. I'm not sure now, Ben.
Maybe all the above.
Left that one open for interpretation.
Big up, Mr. Kaufman. Absolutely. And you already got, everybody knows what we're smelling in the chat. It's the Brazilian, roast that Ben is, cooking right now, Dave, or roasting, right now. And honestly, it looks like we got the better of the Brazilian roast. We got the Richarlison roast, and they got the Gabriel Jesus roast, which I've heard is a bit, kind of overpriced, not
incredibly
really
bitter.
that worth it. Incredibly bitter, not that worth it, a bit pretentious. Whereas the Richarlison roast, Dave, is everything you could want.
Oh, stop. Look, I can't wait for Richarlison to come in. I mean, look, who knows? I mean, I know I slagged down Robbie saying if they got Rafinha, they'd be doing Samba, but I actually might. I mean, Lucas Moura, Emerson, Richarlison, see where we're going with this, So maybe there is room, to do a bit of Samba dancing, Ben Kaufman. Maybe you can take it up and show us all how to do it, my man. Big up, Benji. Hope you're enjoying your trip in Italy. Not sure if you're back or not, but I know you're over there at Lautaro Martinez's restaurant. But big up, Ben. Hope you had a good time as well at the coffee championships. How did the Irish one get on, actually? You said she made it too, so let me know how she got on. But big up, Benji. Really do appreciate the support. But look, I suppose it's about time we get into it, Jack. Dish out the news and let's get the boys involved. Let's go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're going to get into a bit of quick news here quickly to start us off. And if you have any say over any of these news, do get your comments in and do get your super chats in if you do want to have any sort of say over these. Because, Dave, I don't know, while you've been gone, we've been doing a bit of kind of a hybrid sort of thing where we start off with a bit of quick news, kind of get our beautiful panelists here and Adam and Danny kind of warmed up, kind of talking about the news. But at the same time, we don't want to just continue to talk about transfer stuff, right? We want to maybe have, some good debates, about things that we actually know about Spurs, things that we can actually talk about that are certified, things that, are just good conversations to have. So it's a bit of a hybrid. I think, honestly, the Harris Army is going to enjoy it. But Dave, I think first we probably start with the big Rafinha news, which unfortunately has nothing to do with Spurs, but has a lot to do with Chelsea and the Gooners, if I'm going to be honest. But everybody, Chelsea and Leeds, according to Fabrizio Romano, the main man, has said Chelsea and Leeds have reached a full agreement for Rafinha. Official bid accepted, around 60 to 65 million pounds, plus add-ons included. Main part of that amount will be paid immediately. It's done between the clubs. Talks now ongoing on the player side and on personal terms, as well as the contract. Todd Bowley is now on it. I'm just going to ask you this here, Danny. Would you have rather you gone to Chelsea, or would you rather have you gone to Arsenal?
Oh, Chelsea 1,000,000%. As much as I'd probably consider Chelsea.
If you had to pick a poison to choose,
obviously I hate Chelsea more, but just to see the fucking crying and the absolute meltdown from the Arsenal fans all over YouTube, all over Twitter, it'll just be absolutely glorious because they've been banging on, oh, we're getting the better player. They've got all the edits of Rafinha's face in Arsenal shirts, and he's coming, the Brazilian samba front three. All this
I think
shit
even the
they've
Don
been
Robbie said
talking
he would
about.
only be satisfied
Oh
if they got Rafinha plus Jesus. He said he would only be satisfied if they got
Jack,
Rafinha
do you know
plus
what?
Jesus. Now he's crying.
It makes me sick, mate. Honestly, like it actually makes me sick. But it's just going to be so brilliant to see their faces when he's holding up that Chelsea shirt and that they can't get their target they wanted to go because apparently Arsenal had Paul. Apparently Arsenal fans were telling us, "Oh, we've still got Paul. We've got Arteta. We've got fucking Frauteta." I mean, come on, man, give it a rest, bloody Frauteta. Please, he can't pull a girl in a brothel, mate. Let alone get Rafinha to the club. Jeez.
I mean, Adam, for you, I mean, I know you're probably disappointed to see Rafinha stay in the Premier League. I think we all wanted him to go flourish over at Barcelona, but are you a bit happier that he's gone to Chelsea? Or are you more scared that he's gone to Chelsea?
No, to be fair, like at the end of the day, Chelsea were always the most formidable of the two, noisy neighbors that we have, and the fact is that if Rafinha, I think the way that Arsenal are shaping up at the moment, as much as there's still quite a number of steps behind us, I think Rafinha would have been a massive leap up for them, and it would have been a little bit more. There would have been more to contend with, whereas Chelsea would be. I feel like Chelsea are they've always been the team that we find it impossible to tear apart, and Rafinha joining them doesn't change that in any way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean? And the only thing that I can hope with Chelsea is, even though Rafinha is joining them and strengthening them up front, the wheels are kind of falling off a little bit as well, considering that they have all these financial issues. They have the new owners. They have players leaving left, right, and center. So they bring in a Rafinha, but they're going to lose 5-6 players before the end of the transfer window, most likely.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, they're already kind of they're it's a patchwork sort of situation for Chelsea. So, yeah, Rafinha comes in.
This signing was more crucial, as maybe for them. It was more desperate for them, probably.
It was everything with them at the moment is desperate. That's the thing. Whereas Arsenal, they're kind of steady and they're kind of like, we're a 5th place team, and they're not going to, they're probably not going to get.
And Bukayo Saka arrived in the right wing position, so the Rafinha signing, as much as it looked good on paper, like. They've got two players in the same position. Can play everywhere, but it would be weird. Yeah. You'd be moving your best player to a different position, in that sort of case. So to be honest, it was kind of a similar story, whereas it was Rafinha was a similar thing with us as well, where it's like Kulusevski, we love the guy, but, maybe Rafinha is an upgrade, who knows? I think that's how a lot of people sort of saw it. And but whereas maybe Rafinha the whole time, Dave, I don't know, did it make most sense for him to go to Chelsea? Did that make the most sense perhaps this whole time that, Chelsea was the right club for him? Because With Arsenal, he would have to move Bukayo Saka somewhere else. With, Tottenham, he's competing with our, beloved Kulusevski. It was a bit awkward. As much as we all wanted Rafinha, it was a bit more awkward maybe with Arsenal and Tottenham if he were to go there.
Look, first of all, I want to say I'm absolutely delighted that he's going to Chelsea over Arsenal. I mean, with Arsenal, he probably would actually become a starter, and it would end up being thrown back in our face because, look, let's get it right. Chelsea are getting a good player on their hands. With Arsenal, he probably would have flourished. He would have given them something that they do not have. Someone that can beat a man, pop a ball in from 30, 35 yards. You know what I mean? He has that ability. But what I will say is, with Chelsea, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that he will end up starting there. They have a load of players there. They also have, they've got Pulisic still there. Who else have they got? Sterling's supposed to be on his way in as well.
Yeah, Callum right. That Sterling is coming. That's right.
Callum Hudson-Odoi, who they really didn't want to let go to Bayern Munich. He's still there. I'm sure he'll be looking for his place in that starting lineup. So Chelsea still have a lot of options there, and he may not necessarily be a starter, but what he probably will win something at Chelsea. But if Barcelona can get the De Jong deal rushed through with Man United, it automatically then puts them back in the race.
Yeah, because the personal terms have not been agreed. The fee has been agreed, but the personal terms have not been agreed. Originally, he had personal terms agreed with Barcelona. That's his dream club. The big problem is Barcelona have no cash available to them that they can offer because Leeds, I do believe they do want cash up front. They want like 50 to 60 million guaranteed, in a check. Nothing like delayed, kind of cooking the books, Paratici style. Just straight up 60 million. That's what they want.
But they want
Barcelona. But Barcelona can't offer that. And until they maybe sell a player like De Jong, like you just said, Dave, I don't think they're going to be able to, afford that Rafinha deal. No. And perhaps maybe Chelsea just jumped, the gun here. Maybe, Adam, do you feel like Chelsea just hijacked the deal, perhaps, because I feel like he's been linked with Chelsea, but it looked like Chelsea was the least likely of all these. And I know we're talking about a player that isn't going to be a Spurs player anymore. But, this is huge news in the market because I think it's going to, sort of be a domino effect now that Rafinha has sort of.
I think it was a trigger they absolutely had to pull because when you're looking at all of this talk over these Brazilian players, and then you have Gabriel Jesus 100% making his move to Arsenal, and then we were definitely going to pull the trigger on either Rafinha or on Richarlison. They had no other choice really. Realistically, if they were just if they want to say that they're still the big boys in town, they have to get one of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like picking your three Pokemon at the start of a Pokemon game. You got to have one or you're walking away with nothing. You know what I mean? They've literally got to choose. They got to choose which one that, they got to come away with one of them at the end of the day. And they decided to pull the trigger on Rafinha, which is fine because at the end of the day, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. I do think Richarlison suits us so much more. And the fact that they pulled the trigger on Rafinha is fine. That's perfectly fine with me because, at the end of the day, we're going to get our guy.
I like the point how you made act like Chelsea. They had to act like Chelsea, and that's what they kind of sort of done here, maybe with this.
And as well, look, let's not beat around the bush. I'm sure Danny will agree. I mean, I heard him earlier on, speaking about Rafinha. Look, he definitely would have added something to Tottenham. He would have been a good replacement for Bergwijn. You could have been back up for Son and Kulusevski. But at the end of the day, we have to prioritize what we've been looking for so long, and that has been backup to Harry Kane. Now, look, if we got Rafinha in, you could have put Son up there, you could have put Kulu up there. It does give you different options, but what we need is someone that's guaranteed, if he plays up front, that not only can he find the back of the net, hold up the ball, win free kicks, be aggressive, strong in the air, so we have to take all that into account. Playing up front, like good in the air, Son may not necessarily be able to do that. Kulusevski would, but with Richarlison, he gives you it. He gives you everything you need. That Harry Kane offers, maybe bar the creativity, but he can also he can also put balls in behind for him. He can get the defense turned. With Rafinha, them options wouldn't have been there. He solely would have been able to play on the wings. And because he plays so out wide for Leeds, with the way Kulu and Son play, and they kind of play inside, there's no guarantee that he would have been able to play that position. So, I mean, look, he would have been a great signing for Tottenham, But look, it would have shown ambition if we could have got the two of them. I would have liked to get the two of them.
Yeah, that would have been spectacular.
Unfortunately, we're not Man City. We're not Chelsea. You know what I mean? We have budgets to live with, and until we can clear players off, which I don't think there's much interest in our players that we're trying to sell. Why would there be when they've been so crap for Tottenham? And look how far down the league they brought us, from Champions League final down to Europa Conference League. So, you know, until we can offload them players, we don't have the money to go for two of them.
That would have been 120 million at least down the drain, you know, if we had spent it both on, you know, Rafinha or Rafinha, as well as, you know, Richarlison. That's a good point there, Dave. And as much as Dave, you know, Sean, who we're about to address the super chat, as much as, you know, he did not want us to, you know, drain 120 million on forwards that we don't need, I have sort of been attracted to that sort of, you know, Sean described it, Dave, while you were gone, you know, tinting the windows in the car before you even build the car itself. You knowing me, Sean, I like to tint the windows. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, the leather seats and all that stuff before the car is even built, my man. So I would have taken them both for 120 million. Would have wasted my whole budget on everything. That's just kind of the guy that I am. Spurs Talk Show, though, Sean, who I am referring to, says my membership was on the wrong account, so I canceled and moved to the Spurs Talk Show account. Big up, everybody. Check out Spurs Talk Show, especially if you like these similar conversations, especially, you know, if you want them with a bit of intensity as well. Good to be back. Good to see a great panel tonight. Welcome back, Dave. Jack was insanely good to follow your way. Appreciate you, Shawnee. Absolute love that, brother. Really appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, my man. Look, you didn't have to do that, Shawnee. I really do appreciate that, my man. And look, it's great to be back. You're running a stream tomorrow. Give me a shout. I have a little course I have to do, but if it's any time after 1 o'clock, my man, I will pop on. Even if you go at 10, I'd say you'll still be going at 2, 3 o'clock anyway. So I'll definitely pop on, my man.
It'll be going to a 6, It'll be going to a 6, Dave.
Yeah,
All right, for the course.
10 till 6.
No, he's got to rest. No, Sean, he rests. He'll take a nice rest. You know, do a nice chill stream tomorrow, and then the next one will be, you know, the 6-hour one. I know, Sean. This is
big up, Sean.
He had a 5-hour one today. We were on a
love you, Sean. But because he took a break. That's what I said, Danny. Because he took a break, you know, from the big ones. So then he went back to the big ones. That's how he works.
Super chat here.
TV. Saying, Dave, if you were to wake up next to Scarlett Johansson and grew a 6-pack, would that feel better than Rafinha telling Arsenal to piss off? Dave, 6-pack, Scarlett Johansson, how are you feeling? Rafinha, though.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to have a 6-pack, Jack. You know, I could grate a block of cheese on it if I wanted to. I mean, I'd absolutely love one. But you know what, Jack? I do just as fine having my dad bod, so I'd keep that. No, look, at the end of the day, anyone that tells Arsenal to piss off, Bob, I'm absolutely buzzing with, and I wouldn't change it. Look, 2 million would also be nice. Oh no, it's not in this one, but it's one you put up earlier as well. But I'd have to turn that down. At the end of the day, I absolutely hate Arsenal. I despise them, and every time they lose and we win, I mean, it gives me euphoria for the week. And look, they're just South London dwellers or North London dwellers at the end of the day. They had to come knocking. Look, no one else in London wants us. Do you mind if you give us a little home? We gave it to them and they show us nothing but disrespect. So now is the season of all seasons where we give them the ultimate beatdown. And I cannot wait for it, Bob. So no, look, Scarlett Johansson, don't get me wrong. You know, nice woman. But look, at the end of the day, you've got to say no. I hate Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, certain types of satisfaction, Dave, and you've gone for a different type of satisfaction, which I am proud of you for as well. Tottenham Gold has renewed, you know, the membership. Let me just check what type of one it is. He's renewed it to a flat cap membership. Another member, Dave, that already probably has plenty of flat caps in, you know, the book, but, you know, has decided to make it even more official. Everybody check out Tottenham Gold, especially gave out a big Keith Birkinshaw episode where Philip Brady, you know, the Godfather, Ellie, the Queen of the Harris Army as well, was on the channel. Ishan, who is kind of the younger representation of, you know, kind of that channel as well. So I would say check out that stream, everybody. Big up, Dermot. Good to have you.
Big up, Dermot.
Fast Radfar saying Jesus didn't start in a team with any strikers. And I've heard this point actually made before, and perhaps a bit of needed context, you know, Danny, or I don't know, Dave, whichever one, Dave or Danny, whichever one wants to talk. I'll let Danny in there. Yeah, Danny, I mean, a bit of added context to the Jesus situation. This guy didn't start very often in a team that didn't have any strikers to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's even more laughable when you hear Arsenal fans banging on like this guy's the prodigal son. all I've seen and had messages of Arsenal fans. Oh, Jesus rejected you, and I keep these guys are so deluded. It's actually mind blowing how fucking delusional they are. Like, oh yeah, he's gonna score 25 goals a season. He's in his entire career, he's never scored 15 goals plus. Like in his entire career.
Well, I think someone brought up, Danny, that Dele Alli has scored about as many goals in his whole
Dele
time.
Alli scored more league goals than Jesus has in his entire career. Like, as in one season, Dele Alli scored 18 Premier League goals. Jesus hasn't even hit 15.
And what is there, Danny? There's about a 4-year handicap, you would say, with Dele Alli.
Exactly. No, exactly. But what's even more...
Give people 4 years to catch up to him.
What's even more funny is that even in the Brazilian league, Jesus didn't even score. He was an out-and-out goal scorer. He was a good talent, right? Because he is a good talent. He can play. He's versatile. He can play across the wing. He can hold up the ball. He's decent at heading. He's sometimes composed finisher. But end of the day, he's not a player who's going to go and get you Kane level goals or Son level goals. He's just not. He's not a Mane. He's not a Jota. He's not even Jota's level. I mean, Jota's a phenomenal player. And Jesus, it goes to show, right, when Jesus was playing in a team with probably one of the most creative teams on the planet, with someone like Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Mahrez, all playing with him, yet Gundogan was the one who became the striker the last season.
He was the striker, yeah. I mean,
he scored like 15 Premier League, 16 Premier League goals the season before last. And he took over, and even last season, they didn't, they didn't trust him last season. And he was the only out-and-out recognized striker, yet he still didn't get ahead of everyone else. And what does that tell you? The guy is a good player, but he's not going to go and get you 20-odd goals a season. So absolutely. I cannot wait to see the meltdown even more at the end of next season. Jesus is a flop. We shouldn't have signed him. And
I'm the Nicola Pepe Faz. It's the new Nicola Pepe Faz. You know,
yeah, it is. Jack, I'm going to be screenshotting every single deluded Arsenal fan, and I'm going to be reposting it at the end of the season, saying, look at what you said, you absolute melt. Look at what you said, you mug. Honestly, these Arsenal fans, it's just going to be glorious to see it. And do you know what? I don't know if you guys saw it, but did you guys see the trailer of All or Nothing today?
I can't believe I'm more excited to watch an Arsenal
Is that being released tonight?
than for the Spurs.
No. Is that being released tonight? The actual
6th of August, I think it is. 6th of August. But it was just a trailer. It was the first trailer. It was brilliant.
Nice.
It was brilliant.
It's going to be the most enjoyable thing ever.
During the season as well. They released that during the beginning of the season. That's honestly cruel. They should have released it sooner. Honestly, it's probably just part of the Arteta contract there. Ridiculous. Dark Sun G with a super chat saying Blues are going for Rafinha as well as Sterling, which will be 100 million total. Will they have any money left for center backs and midfielders? If not, I think they are doomed. Dave, I mean, they've had a huge, director of football change. A lot of people they're kind of firing, kind of a big Todd Bowley. I believe it's an American revolution happening over at Chelsea. Mm-hmm. And if we know anything about how Americans have run football clubs of recent, it's not so well. So I don't know, Dave, like perhaps like Jules Koundé, could be available to us, maybe some original Chelsea targets that would have been there under, the previous sporting director. Who knows, Dave, like previous Chelsea targets might be actually available to Spurs. I don't know. Like, what do you make of maybe, I guess what he's more or less saying is this American, kind of change, this American ownership, they're spending it all on, Rafinha and Sterling.
Look, first of all, I will say I'm sick of fucking Chelsea now. Abramovich, now this guy, when can they just get a Mike Ashley? When can Mike Ashley buy Chelsea and just fuck them over? I'm absolutely sick of them, right? I'm absolutely had enough. They are so lucky. Look, it goes in with the area, bully or bully, whatever you want to call the idiot. He's probably down there getting his poodle done and his nails done at the same time. Pisses me off. Fucks me off. Look, when it comes to these, with Rafinha, Sterling, if they get them in, which it looks like they will, don't worry. They have loads of players they can sell. Don't forget they've got about another 60 kids. Some of them aren't even kids. Some of them are 25, 26 that they keep loaning out every single season. There's a lot of players they can just sell off there and create 100, 200 million like that tomorrow. So, look, they will have plenty of money. I wouldn't be worried about that. I don't think they are doomed, to be honest with you. Look, I do think no matter, even if they do bring in defenders, if they lose what we're expecting them to lose, which is rumored, Alonso, Aspilicueta, Christensen, Rudiger's gone to Real Madrid, plus Thiago Silva's another year older. Yes, they should be concentrating on defense. But you look at this guy, like, straight away they're linked with Neymar. Look, he wants to be the big boy, wants to be the one everyone loves. In fact, I hope it starts off with Neymar and ends in Sterling, because I actually think Raheem Sterling is one of the most overrated players in the Premier League, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah. So, in a way, I actually hope he ends up levying them, to be honest with you, doing a Daniel Levy on them, Jack. It starts with Neymar and ends with Sterling. That would be beautiful.
That would be beautiful, Dave. Absolutely beautiful. Everybody, we're going to get to the rest of the Super Chats here, but Dave does want me to move on to the rest of the news here. He put it out to the people there, so we are going to move on to a bit of the rest of the news. And we are going to say that Richarlison is going to be the guy that we're going to be talking about, everybody. Finally, we can talk about actually a player that might be, or in fact probably is, coming to Tottenham here. And according to Portuguese journalist Bruno Andrade, who is actually the first one to sort of kind of leak this whole Richarlison rumor in the first place, has said that Tottenham have reached an agreement with Richarlison on personal terms and are on track to close the Richarlison deal with Everton later this week. He has chosen Spurs over Chelsea, and Tottenham are already in negotiations for a £60 million moon. Like for big money, lots of build up behind this one. I feel like, Adam, compared to the, the Basuma deal, the Forrester deal, the Paratici deal, we've well known about this, I think, for a long time. Do you feel like Richarlison will live up to the pressure, the price tag?
I think so. Look, first, I just want to address something very, very quickly. I'm a bit disappointed that there hasn't been a costume change on your part, Jack, at this point, because you're the only person not wearing white. Danny needs to get himself a flat cap, and before the end of the stream, we need to do a rendition of "I Want It That Way" by the Backstreet Boys. Okay, it only makes sense. It only makes sense.
That's glorious, Danny. You and I have some changing to do. Maybe intermission time.
Costume changes.
I think we do. We'll have a little short break in a sec, Jack.
Absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. No, look, as far as Richarlison is concerned, look, like we already have one of the most formidable front lines in the Premier League. That was one area that we never had an issue with. The issue, and even Conte got our back line sorted in order to make sure that we weren't leaking goals like a sieve. Where we were struggling was in the middle of the pitch, connecting the two realistically, right? So our front line, is it a good idea that we've reinforced it? Absolutely. But like the fact is, we've got so many different competitions to play now. Right, we're in four competitions. Champions League's, much more competitive than that nonsense that we were in last season. So we need to have the rotation ability. You have Kulusevski can play on the right and in the middle. Richarlison can play on the left and in the middle. Sonny, can basically play it absolutely anywhere. And Kane is going to just consistently be that threat down the middle. We can rotate these four players any which way we want, and it's also a very strong possibility that from time to time Conte may switch to a 3-5-2, and then you've got four players to rotate in the two up the front. Do you know what I mean? And all we've done is made one of the most powerful front lines in football today even stronger. And Richarlison is going to, like, the fact that he is so versatile, as we keep saying, you know what I mean? That was the reason why he was preferable over Rafinha. He's so versatile. You can put him anywhere up the front, and he's going to do the business. He's going to chip in, and he's a bully. He's basically going to be he's going to be like the Romero of the front line, because he's an absolute bully. He's going to push people around. He'll put the foot in where he needs to. He really is going to give his absolute all for a white shirt instead of a blue shirt. You know what I mean? So I think it's absolutely incredible that he's joining the team. Doesn't matter that we had to spend the 60 million. That's totally fine, because there are significant, there's a significant amount of players out there that we can bring into the winger positions that we don't need to spend 60 million on. Yes, we would have loved a Hakimi or Dumfries or whoever you want, pick your player. But personally, I think that the lad that we're looking at the moment, and I don't know if this is a talking point for later, but I think that Nkapia is actually would be like, he'd be cheap, and I think he could actually play very well on the left rather than play as a centre back, and we could still bring in someone like Ndicka and whatever. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, all those players that I just mentioned and more will be so much cheaper and still really, really effective coming in those positions, better, strengthening. And again, it's not about having someone that can play second fiddle to anybody else. It's about having squad depth. We can no longer be in the mindset. We've been too long in the mindset of Spurs have a starting 11 and then nothing else. we need to have
we had the A and B team mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the thing. And we can't be thinking like that anymore. It's got to be everyone is a squad rotation player, and the bench needs to look as formidable as what's on the pitch. And we're starting to get there slowly. And I think that the players that we're going to bring in other positions can still be really, really solid without having to break the bank. I just think Richarlison, again, you had those 3 Brazilians on the market. We had to nick one of them. We got one. We got the one that's going to be best poised to make waves in our team. And so I think it's a no-brainer. It's a genius piece of work. And please God, we'll have the here we go from Fabrizio Romano before the end of the week.
Beautiful opening statements from you there, Adam. Honestly, everybody give Adam a bit of a round of applause there, because he's covered so much. And honestly, he's probably given his whole transfer philosophy there. Clearly, the guy is not rattled, by, the upcoming career trip. He seems to be plenty confident that there are going to be some very clever done, deals, before we set up there. But Danny, just a quick question here before we get into a few more super chats. I did want to ask, maybe about, this Richarlison deal, because I think the big holdup is, right, he is 60 million pounds, and some people don't think he's worth that. But Danny, just to kind of, pick your brain here, Darwin Nunez went for a ton, he's not exactly really proven yet. Vlahovic went for a ton. Lautaro Martinez was valued at like 100 million pounds or whatever it was. Joao Felix has been, a 100 million pound player. And then Victor Osimhen has been like valued at like 80 million, 90 million pounds. Do you feel like there's sort of like a transition where like maybe strikers are becoming like a bit of a rare sort of kind of item, like a bit of a rare, not as longer a commodity, maybe you would say, more of like a rare item for like top teams, you could say. Like they're just becoming more expensive because they're more rare, is I think what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Even if they're not worth that price, they're becoming more expensive by the looks of it. Strikers.
I think it's just general in terms of inflation, the way the market has gone in football, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a matter of strikers. I think it's every position, anywhere you go now. If you want a kind of goodish to kind of sort of on the verge of being a very, very good player to kind of that kind of level, you're looking at like your average is like 50 million nowadays. Or sometimes if you go to foreign leagues, especially, you can get them for better players, more top players for 50 million. Sometimes they might not be proven in the Premier League, or they could be extremely good players like your Bastonis, your Skriniars.
There's deals to be had,
and that you could probably go and get them for like 60, 70 million pounds, maybe 50, depending on if the
But
club
even though like the Darwin
not,
Nunez's of the world are like going for 80 million euros, like they're not going for cheap when you think about it.
But the thing is, the Benficas of this world and the Portos, they always sell their best players for really extreme amounts. They've been known to do it in the past. So I think, I think it just depends on what the club really wants to sell the player for, right?
How much they value the player for.
It's
Rice situation of like, exactly they value him at 100 million pounds. Is he actually worth 100 million pounds? Probably not,
It's what they value the player at, right? And the thing is, as well, with this Rafinha kind of situation, Rafinha and Richarlison, people probably know my thoughts and what I've said over the last kind of couple of days, couple of weeks. Look, Rafinha is a better player. That is hands down. He's a better player. You cannot deny that. The stats will back it up in terms of his creativity and that kind of stuff. And what I have said, I've never once said that I don't want Richarlison at all. I said he'd be a good player in the squad. I just don't think for the value that Everton value him at, it's worth paying that. But it's also what Spurs value him at, because if Spurs are prepared to pay that money, then obviously they value him the same as what Everton value him at. Or it's the fact that because they want him, they know that there's no other way of getting him, but unless they pay the kind of really high fee that Everton are looking for, right? Now, someone like Richarlison he'll add versatility, that's for sure, right? He can play right wing, left wing as a striker. My argument for getting Rafinha was that I wanted him because he's a better player, right? Because if we're going to be a big club with a big club mentality to compete with the Chelseas, the Man Cities, which is what Antonio Conte wants to do, right? Then why not go and get another striker as well? Why do we have to settle for Richarlison, right? When we're a Champions League club, why do we have to settle for Richarlison for 60 million pounds when we can go and get a striker as well as a Richarlison or as well as a Rafinha? We shouldn't be settling for one player because they're versatile and can play in multiple positions, right? We're supposed to be look at Chelsea. Chelsea want to go and buy Sterling and Rafinha. I mean, that's a big club mentality. That's ambition. They're going to go and spend probably 100 million on the defense as well, right? So they're going to go and spend probably 200 million this window. Man City are probably going to go and spend another 100 million. They bought for 65 million on Haaland. They went and bought Calvin Phillips for 45 million, and they're going to go and get
I'm actually going to stop. I
mean,
feel like Man City. I don't expect Man City actually to spend 200 million, but you might be right. That Chelsea.
No, I think they'll spend another 50 million because if Ake goes, they're going to have to replace him. So they'll go and get another left-sided centre back. So and their average is usually 50 million on a player, right? So that's going to be nearly 150 million if they get one more player in because they've already spent just over 100 million.
Maybe,
already.
but they've done cheaper deals with maybe Julian Alvarez. In that case, I agree with you, Danny. They've done cheaper deals. I have a feeling, though, that Chelsea, and someone mentioned that, Chelsea might spend 200 million. Some said Chelsea might be really prudent because, as we know, American owners, they like to be a bit stingier. So it's going to be actually an interesting case with how Chelsea are because they're also changing all of their targets. Like all their targets from before have been sort of wiped clean and they're going after new ones. So I guess we'll find out here. Dark Sun G, though, saying we are getting tall players recently. Kulu, Ben, Forster, Perisic, Richarlison, which I'm happy about because we were a team with height problems with Dark Sun G. I'm a bit upset with you because you've almost kind of almost leaked a bit of the question that's, a bit later. He hasn't broken it entirely here, Dave, but, he's kind of, touching on something that we are going to maybe point out that perhaps, Conte is looking at a certain type of player mold, in the physical sort of sense.
No, 100%. First of all, big up Ben from We Are Tottenham TV. Hope your honeymoon is going well, my man. But look, Dark Sun G, I agree with you. Look, last season, set pieces, actually since Jose Mourinho has been here, set pieces from free kicks into our box, corners into our box, plus the ones that we get in the attacking sense. We've never capitalized on them as much as we really should. And that's because we don't have players that want to compete in the air. Look, we even have a big lump like Eric Dyer, but he's not like someone that sees that ball and he's like a Virgil van Dijk, like a Vidic was for Man United, that will go and win that ball, go and get it cleared at all costs. Eric Dyer's not that sort of guy. So, hopefully, look, it shouldn't always fall on Eric Dyer. Matt Doherty's been caught out in the air. Romero's been caught out in the air. So many of our players have been caught out in the air. Ben Davies at times. So hopefully now getting in some of these taller players will actually be able to help us complete physically in that sort of department. Plus, in others, it will definitely benefit us. But no, look, it's good because at the end of the day, look, we
are a bit of a shorter team, I'll be honest. We are a bit of a shorter team. Even our midfield before we have Bentancur, like Højbjerg was the tallest midfielder. And Højbjerg, I think, was like my height.
Yeah, but I like a team, where you've got big, strong, robust lads where you're not going to be bullied in any sort of situation. People that have that dog mentality, someone that wants, if you want to fight, they'll fight you. They'll fight you better than you fight them, If you want to play a ball, these guys can mix it up and they can look like Brazilians, knocking the ball around the park. That's what I want. And for me, I think that's what Conte wants. So hopefully, but look, we had to address the sort of defensive set pieces. It's been a huge problem for us, and I think we are trying to address that with the height of some of the players coming in here.
And we'll know by the end of the week as well, because like Clement Longley is it's been told to give his decision on whether he wants to join Spurs by the end of the week, and if we do end up getting him on loan, he's 6'1".
That's right.
Yeah, but he's not great in the air. That's one of his biggest lacks in his statistics.
Oh, really?
Is his aerial ability? Yeah, it's not very good. Actually, Ben Davies is better in the air than Clement Longley, which is interesting to see because Ben Davies is not the tallest player. We did a stream with Sean.
To be fair, actually, I would challenge you here, Danny. You could even go as far to say, who knows? Ben Davies even better in the air than Eric Dyer. I mean, he had more chances.
No, I think he is. I think he is. We were going to compare the stats with I just want to add to the Richarlison thing, right? The only reason I think that Spurs are going for him, I think number one, I think they can get a better deal in terms of the money, right? That has to come into play because 65 million to 70 million pound for Rafinha is ridiculous anyway. I wouldn't want to pay that much money if even if it was for Rafinha. But I think with Richarlison, I think they can do a deal where they maybe pay 50 million with add-ons, and then maybe they I do think Harry Winks in some form of capacity is going to go the other way, and whether it's their own deal, whether that's permanent, I think he will go. And I think in terms of what Conte wants in a player, I think in terms of the defensive ability, he is better defensively in terms of winning the ball high up the pitch, especially if you look at his statistics. I'm sure you've seen it, Jack. He actually wins the ball so much more than, say, someone like a Rafinha does. Even though Rafinha does win it up the field quite a lot, he does win it a lot more. And
they're both exceptionally hard workers, actually.
They're both
and I think
hard
that's
workers,
I think we'll be satisfied with that. And that's kind of, the Spurs mentality that, we're kind of looking for, especially with the players.
And also, I just want to say, sorry, Dave. If Richarlison does come in, which it looks like it is, I just want to put it out there. I just hope that we get at least one more forward player in, because if we go into a season with just Richarlison there and just Lucas Moura as the other option, I worry, because if we were to have one or two injuries to Kulu or Son or at the same time, we're not going to have enough players to field, and we're going to have to bring in youngsters or other players, unless they've got another mind where they put Perisic left wing or something like that, and they bring.
That's the thing. He is able to do that,
so they can do that, which is that maybe that is the thinking. Maybe they think Perisic can be that cover, but I would like to see maybe one more forward come in who can play as like an Emmanuel Dennis, right? He's a young striker. He can play on the wings, but he's predominantly a striker. You can get him for 20-odd million. It's not a lot, and he scored 13-odd goals in the season.
What I will say for me is, you look around Europe at the minute. Strikers are in short supply. They are in very, very short supply, strikers around Europe. You look at Haaland, we were never going to be able to afford him. Look at someone like Vlahovic, we weren't able to afford him. He ended up going to the likes of Juventus. Outside of that, you're looking at Benzema, Lewandowski. You're not going to get them to the club. So you have to be smart in the way you operate. And looking around and bringing someone like Richarlison in is a smart move. At the end of the day, yes, you can give all these fancy names, a Belotti, a Mauti, Lautaro Martinez, but you don't know how they're going to come into the Premier League and adapt. And Conte wants to make a challenge this season. Richarlison is ready. Premier League proven. Double digits in every season, bar one, since he's been in the Premier League.
For a shite team.
Yeah, exactly. Playing for two shit teams, Everton, Watford. You know what I mean? Last season with Everton, Danny, I know you're talking about Rafinha's stats, but you have to remember, Rafinha is playing in a team under Bielsa, under Ted Lasso, where they're allowed to get forward. Whereas Richarlison was playing under Benitez, where it's very restricted. It's not.
You're right.
So his stats are manipulated in that sort of regard. But for me, Richarlison is what we've been calling out for. How many times over the last couple of years have we said to Spurs, for fuck's sake, get a striker in here. Get someone that's ready to hit the ground running. We don't want to see a Llorente. We don't want to see a Dane Scarlett or Parrott who you're hoping can come good and pull off a Wayne Rooney or somebody like that. So the next best thing is to go and get someone that's already done it in the Premier League. And that's what Richarlison is. He also has a very good mentality. He showed up when it mattered most, when everything was down.
He carried Lampard.
6 in his last 9. He showed up. That's a strong mentality. Yes, people can criticize his attitude. He gets angry when he gets taken off. I fucking would if Alex Iwobi is running around the pitch and I'm being taken off. The guy's an absolute donkey. If anyone's going to help everything, it's going to be Richarlison or Iwobi and stuff like that. So I would get pissed off as well. But Richarlison will also bring that shit house mentality. And we are going to touch on this. But at Tottenham, we have been too soft. Even under Pochettino, great midfield in Dembele and Wanyama. But when the game gets tough, like against Chelsea at the Battle of the Bridge, we didn't want it. Someone like Richarlison, he will fucking want it. And that's the difference. Someone like Perisic, he will want it.
And you add Basuma to that as well. Yeah.
He will want it. Romero, I mean, you don't even have to ask. You know what I mean?
Dave, you're spoiling your answers, my man. Dave, you're spoiling your answers for, the questions
Jack,
later, my man.
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing, right? There is 200 likes on this, and there's 620 people watching. Can everyone please go and smash that like? It literally doesn't cost you anything, and it takes 1 second to do. Just go and hit that like, because it honestly helps the algorithms of YouTube. It helps the channel grow. It helps everything so much with the Irish Hotspur. So please smash that like.
All hail the algorithm.
Michael Anderson, new Flat Cap member. Appreciate that, Michael. Do appreciate you tuning in, Dave. He's made it official. Big up, Michael. Appreciate support, brother. Dark Sun G with another one here saying, I'm laughing that Nketiah is getting a number 14 shirt, lol. That was the number for Henri, who was class. Now they're getting the Jesus replacing Aubameyang. Laugh my ass off. Dave, it's almost like a linear curve here where, you know, you go to Henry, you go to Aubameyang, now you're at Nketiah, and it's almost, it's a sad trajectory that's quite predictable.
If I was Thierry Henry, I'd be asking him to, like, you know, cancel my name at Arsenal and my goals. It's an insult to give someone like Kit Kat, you know, his sort of number, and ask him to go and replicate what Henry done for Arsenal. You know, look, they're absolutely a joke. I mean, again, it's another master stump by the board. Yeah, give him the Henry, you know, jersey. Let him keep the fans happy. You see how happy it keeps them poor guys. They're jumping around like lunatics. You know, oh, next Henry, this, that, and the other, you know. It keeps them happy, the poor devils. And I actually hope it keeps keeping them poor devils happy, Jack, because the more they get happy with substandard things that the board are doing, the more they're going to go in free fall. Tottenham fans got fed up with it, and that's why we've got Antonio Conte.
That's a good point.
Yes, I'm going to say this, the Don Paratici, you know, and we're on an upwards trajectory, while they're going to go backwards under someone like Mikel Arteta, the brickhead. So at the end of the day, I mean, look, they can give Nketiah the jersey. They can get Gabriel Jesus, like Jesus into place to goals of Aubameyang, but is that not why they tried so hard to keep hold of Nketiah? I mean, I don't really know what's going on at that club. It's a bit of a shambles, but look, the longer their fans accept the mediocrity and they start celebrating about it, the better.
They're going to have a
They're picking between a Kit Kat and a guy who doesn't want to play striker. That's basically what they're
do you know what's funny, Jack? Do you know what's funny? It's the fact that they've given him the number 14 shirt, right? And when he starts doing bad and he can't live up to the Thierry Henry, because let's be honest, he ain't going to live up to Thierry Henry. They're going to all start slating him. They're going to turn him, oh, he's pansy, he's pony. Why we got him? And all the things that we've been saying, it's all going to come true.
And we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to, you know, maybe hopefully William Kelly, you know, had a chat with, you know, maybe the predictor, the oracle recently. Hopefully, you know, that's what's coming out. Eric Bacher saying Matt Law has said Chelsea budget is 200 million plus sales. Well, some people are saying they'll be very prudent this summer. Some people are saying they'll be very, you know, kind of, you know, they'll be spending big, you know, the Americans. So I guess we'll find out. Do really appreciate the support, Mr. Bacher. Kuva99 saying a super chat just for the love. Absolutely love you, Kuva. And honestly, he's doing absolute work on every single channel right now. And while he's doing that, he's sending a lot of love to the smaller channels out there who need that love and need that support as well. Big up, Kuva.
He's the most famous Spurs fan without a channel, Jack. That's what he is, you know.
He'd probably get 1,000 overnight, Dave. He'd probably get 1,000 overnight if he's
the new YouTube whore, isn't he?
Yeah.
Paul Van saying Richarlison's personality disorder worries me. Paul, I see where you're coming from, but at the same token, there are some people who think that Richarlison's sort of attitude, his hot-headedness, actually helps his game. They think that's what makes him the player that he sort of is today. It's actually made him the player that sort of Spurs are buying 60 million pounds worth. Maybe they actually like that kind of player. And perhaps even Paul, Antonio Conte wants that kind of player, a guy that, you know, has a bit of, you know, raw energy, a guy with a bit of kind of raw anger that he can sort of kind of channel and, you know, kind of mold in the right way. I see what you mean, Paul, but
I take a personality disorder.
Yes,
I would honestly take a personality disorder in a player that is able to single-handedly secure a team from relegation. Do you know what I mean? This guy is someone who was playing his ass off for a team that deserved to go down.
Sucked it up and just played.
He did what the rest of them couldn't do. Like, I don't forget his personality problems. And at the end of the day, we don't know, you know, what any truth to it. None of us know him personally. All we know is that out on the pitch, he talks the talk and walks the walk, and that's exactly what he's going to do for us now.
I really like that, actually. That's spot on there, actually, Adam. And to be fair, you made a good point. Like, would someone really have personality issues if they were going to step up during a Frank Lampard and Rafa Benitez team? I really doubt it. Giorgio, love the name, says Conte will make Richie a better player. Competition amongst the forward line. Cover for Kane and Kulu is much needed. Hopefully the buying won't stop there. Yeah, I do hope we still get at least another forward in there just to replace the Bergvine outgoing George. But Dave, you know, finally some quality backup for Harry Kane. You've said this before in the past. We didn't want a Carlos Vinicius, you know, just to, you know, warm the bench. Now we have a Richarlison, you know, to kind of breathe down Kane's neck. It's all that you want.
Yeah, look, first of all, any related to Anthony, the guy that used to play for the under-23s, he was loaned out a few times to Cypriot. Let me know, my man, but big up, George.
Good name.
Yeah, look, Jack, I mean, look, we were all crying. Well, not we all. I mean, but look, a lot of Spurs fans were kind of unhappy. Like, you know, Where's Vinicius? We need someone like Vinicius in here. And then we cry when someone like Richarlison is coming in. I mean, Richarlison is head and shoulders above someone like a Vinicius, even a Llorente. So for me, look, I think Richarlison is a step in the right direction. We've asked for someone that knows where the goals is. We don't want the cheaper option. We haven't done that. We're willing to go and splash the cash on someone that we know can, if Harry Kane is out, that can lead that line. And I agree with George. I think Conte will make Richarlison a better player.
Mm-hmm.
You see them angry players, Jack? All they're looking for is football is their release. Everything outside angers them, but football is their release, and they channel that anger on the pitch. That's why he's so angry. I was one of them guys myself. Someone took a jelly on me when I was younger. I'd go down to the training pitch. I had to run extra hard. I'd fucking burst someone. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like with Richarlison, he's just angry. And someone like Conte, who's been around the block, who's old school, has played the game when it was rough, the rough and tumble of it, he'll be able to channel Richarlison's anger properly into his football, and you will get a much better
probably
player.
Sees himself in Richarlison, even Dave. Maybe he even sees his own self in Richarlison, which is almost scary to even imagine. Well, there you are, George.
And just quickly, George, as well, not only Kulu, but he covers Son. He covers Son as well, and that's a big plus for me. Yes, I know, some people can say it's the cheap option. We're getting him to cover both positions. But if you're splashing 50 million, he could play 2-3 positions. I mean, that's just an added bonus, to be honest with you. So for me, I actually think it's a good signing. Get that in, then we can concentrate on our defense and improve that, and then we go into the new season with hard-ons ready to win the league.
I also think that when you were not considering the fact that Danny already pointed out that Perisic can play in that position as well, right? So that's 5 players rotating, but also that at the end of the day, Dave, you've seen yourself the significant improvements that Troy Parrott has made, right? So he has made significant improvements, and he wants to do the preseason with Conte. You have no idea what Conte could do with him in preseason, and he's going to weigh up his options. Then at the end of the day, that's someone who, if we only had one person injured, you've got enough players in Kane, Son, Kulu, Perisic, and Richarlison. If one of them goes missing, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. If it does end up being the case, the two of them go down for a period of time, Troy Parrott can come in and do a job. Do you know what I mean? Especially if he's got a preseason under Conte. Hopefully that won't happen. But we do have more availability on the forward line than you think. Obviously, we're not going to go in and bring a Dane Scarlett at this point. He's still very young. He's got to go out on loan. But there's plenty of our options up front. Like when you literally compare us to the Gooners, it's a million miles apart. It's like looking at the table at the beginning of last season when we were number 1 and they were number 20. Do you know what I mean? It is literally the difference is that significant.
Polar opposite worlds.
Polar opposite. And by the way, just
really,
to finish up, big up Danny for getting the flat cap on. Jack, it's time for your
the change of shirt's going to have to happen. He's honestly making me look bad, Danny. He's honestly called me out with that change there. Richard Blackdog, Dave, you take it over and I'll get the change going.
Yeah, you've got to, and we'll get ready. You're my fire, my one desire. Backstreet Boys. Richard Blackdog said all these links with Everton. Spurs players coming and going this week, but imagine my surprise tuning in tonight to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the panel. Big up, lads. He's referring to you, Danny. He's calling you Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You're on mute.
Big up, Richard Blackdog. Hope you're well, man. Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, we said we'd give you a nice surprise, Richard. I mean, I brought Dominic Calvert-Lewin on just to tell him that Richarlison is better than him and we don't want him. But big up. Big up. Look,
I'm shit.
What I will say, players outgoing. I mean, look, it's very slow, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised nobody wants our players, to be honest with you. You see links here and there, but I believe that's us just trying to get, it's like when you go fishing with no worms and you just leave it dangling in there to try and get a bite. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, for me, I think that's what we're trying to do. Just leave a bit out there, see if someone nibbles. I'm not surprised that we're not seeing many outgoings. Hopefully we do see some, come towards the end of this week. But big up, Richard Blackdog. Really appreciate the support, man. And we don't want Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's crap.
Yeah, I'm shit.
Big up, my man. I really appreciate the support, brother. The bottom Duta says Ousmane Dembele's contract situation still isn't resolved. Dybala is still a free agent. Paratici and Conte can still surprise us with a top winger. Yeah, I know I am being completely delusional. Look, I'll be honest, the bottom two, and I'll get the lads' thoughts on this. And I know Jack, I think, has sort of a question on this, but for me, Ousmane Dembele, this guy has had serious attitude problems.
Yeah.
You know, Borussia Dortmund turning up for late for training, serious attitude problems. That's why when Barcelona came in with the money, you know, they probably put them in prison just to keep them there until they got the money so they could get rid of the guy. They couldn't believe their luck. He went to Barcelona, started off ropey, again, attitude problems. Now, I know they're saying it's improved and stuff like that, but someone like that, we'll have to offer him big money, and you see all the attitude problems come out. I'll be honest, I fear another Ronald McDombele situation if we were to go for this guy. I want to stay.
I agree with that. Here's the thing, though, Dave, just to add a bit of context here. To Bottom Duda, he's kind of like me, you know, where he likes to make things harder on himself, Dave. He doesn't want to go for the easy, glaring option. He's like, you know, why not give me 20 million and I'll fix, you know, the whole team. He's that sort of kind of guy, Dave. And, you know, that's what I think he means by, you know, I know I'm being delusional here, where he wants to come up with, you know, a solution that maybe not every Spurs fan would agree on. He's that kind of guy. He wants to make things a bit harder on himself, which I do admire. He likes to think a bit harder about it.
What I will say at the bottom, do is scrap the bala. Go and get me Berardi from Sassuolo. The guy put up incredible numbers last season. You know, go and get me him. Screw Dybala. I don't want him. Look, at the end of the day, this guy has been like, you know, how'd you put it in the nicest way? I know I'm not even going to go down that route. Actually, it might get me cancelled. West Ham fans might be watching. But what I will say is this guy has been put out in the media every single season. Nobody's come in for him. You've got to question why. If he's that good, why are some of the best clubs around the world, if he's been put out there, you know, for a move every single season, why is none of them bit and gone for him? You know, for me, I think it's probably a lot of it's to do with that third-party stuff. But for me, fuck the ball at the bottom, do it. You know the man. Go after Berardi. Big up the bottom.
Legend. Big up to Bottom Duda. We also have Luca 14 saying, great shows, guys. Is Maxwell Cornet worth the punt? I've only seen one link at any day this whole time. It's only happened once that I've seen a link, and it was a pretty shady site that by the looks of it that I was on, Luca. So I don't think it's happening. It would be a good, you know, maybe punt, especially for left wing back, you know, potentially, because that is a position that he could sort of play. He played that position at Olympique Lyon back in the day, Luca, not at Burnley, but actually back at Olympique Lyon. So not a bad shout, my man. And I do wish maybe we take that into consideration. Kuva99 says, I disagree with the bun. I think Jesus will easily match what Thierry Henry achieved. One day he could easily be as awful as a pundit with as equally as crappy views.
Oh, I love Cuba.
I think that's really where Henry's reputation actually lies. It's not as much on the football side of things. It's now, you know, more of his, you know, pundit sort of game, which actually he's sort of ruining his reputation, if I must say, Kuva. And maybe some of these players, they really shouldn't get into punditry because they might ruin their whole playing careers, you know, in the time period that they stay as pundits. So you might be right, Kuva. Hopefully he doesn't follow in the same footsteps, or maybe that, like you said, might be the best moments of his career. Big up, Kuva.
I know Kuva's joking, but secretly I also think Kuva has a sneaky 20 quid on Gabriel Jesus to the banging goals this season. Kuva's a smart man. He wins money on the football. He's a smart man. Big up, Kuva.
Dan Ann says, heard Andros Townsend talking about Richarlison, said he looks angry to the media, but he's a laugh in the dressing room and his teammates all like him. I really actually like this take here, Dan, because I've said this before where perhaps actually Richarlison is nowhere near the hothead that we think he is off the pitch. He's only just a hothead on the pitch, which is kind of what you're looking for at times, because maybe that's what made him the player that he is today. The reason that he has been so successful is because he's one of those guys that, I don't know, Dave, maybe before he gets onto the pitch, he's slapping himself in the, you know, the face a few times. You know, he's probably just beckoning at the players. You know, he's just is one of those guys that just goes onto the field kind of pissed off. You know, he doesn't go onto the field kind of relaxed, cool, calm, and collected like maybe a Harry Kane would. He kind of goes onto the, you know, pitch pissed off, which has made him the player that he is.
Look, Jack, some people are better at, you know, thrive off being angry. They have to get angry to get themselves up for a game. You know, and someone like Richarlison, I keep saying he should channel his anger. You will get a loose cannon like a Wayne Rooney, like a Tevez, like a Suarez, where they need to be playing, like Dele Alli when he was in his prime. They need to be playing on the edge, and that's what Richarlison needs. And look, look, and as well, with how everybody hates Tottenham, and we know this, you know, everyone, I mean, clubs singing Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. I mean, they should never even have our mouth in their names. Half of them have only been promoted over the last 5 years. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous what went on last season. It was so hard to take. And someone like Richarlison, and with Conte, he likes to get, everybody against us. Richarlison will absolutely thrive off being hated. Amount of derby games we have, Arsenal, Chelsea, Fulham and now Palace. The list goes on and on and on. Plus the likes of City, Liverpool, United. Richarlison is going to thrive off everybody else hating us. He's that sort of guy. In fact, it'll make him more angrier. He'd probably bang a hat-trick.
Yeah, he would probably bang in a hat trick, to be fair to you, Dave. Absolutely right. I think, Dan, and honestly, it's the type of player that we're buying. It's the type of player we're going to have to get used to. This is the sort of, things that he comes with. He comes with that sort of pissed off, sort of attitude. But maybe in the background, he's actually kind of like a Lucas Moura, who knows, in the dressing room, someone who's actually really easy to get along with. But I guess we'll find out. And only, maybe more to come, because this deal is expected to happen this week, as you did say in the banner there. Just last bit of quick news, and I think we're going to move on to the main sort of kind of topics and questions today. Anthony Gordon has sort of been kind of revealed to not be a part of the deal, guys. I'll be honest, I'm not really an I told you so person, but I kind of sort of saw this coming with, him being, more or less their second or first favorite, sort of player. And he also being homegrown from the academy. If you ask me, Adam, yeah, Anthony and Adam, do you feel like, I don't know, it just never really felt like he was going to be part of the deal. That would be taking their two best players, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we got to look at more, does he fit into what we're trying to do? I mean, like the guy can
maybe
play
he's
out
a Bergwijn replacement, but he would be a very expensive one.
Again, I think our forward line is okay for now. I think we can, if we have another, surplus of cash next season, we can go out and get another forward player. I don't think it's necessary. Can Gordon could play out on the wing though, potentially. Do you know what I mean? And he could play, in second fiddle to Perisic or whatever. He can play on the right because he is right-footed. He plays inverted winger, doesn't he? So he's right-footed. He could play out on the right, and he could potentially supersede Doherty or Emerson. But I mean, I think that there are better options out there, and I may, who knows if Gordon was ever really on our target list, or it was just something drummed up by the media. There's no way of kind of
it really
sure
only happened in the space of a day. It really only
absolutely
in the space of a day. You're right.
Absolutely. And maybe that was just if you think about it, that could have been a kind of a PR stunt from Everton to the fans, because it's if you try and
fighting for Gordon.
Yeah, look, you don't want with all of the fandom being like, okay, we hate you for getting rid of Richarlison, who's our best player. We hate you, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna lose Richarlison and Gordon. It's like, no, not the two of them. And it's like, oh no, we get to keep Gordon. They're like, oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Especially those owners, they need some PR. I would say that's
at least we didn't both of them. The owners are great because they kept Gordon around. Do you know what I mean? So you never know what the reason could be for him being mentioned at all. The fact of the matter is, we need to concentrate on who's gonna best fit into our team and improve in the areas that we need them improved. And we know how important that those wingers are in a Conte system. So is Gordon going to come in and revolutionize the team? I heard someone say, I think it was on Shawnee's channel earlier, someone said that even Everton fans are like, Gordon is hit and miss. There are times where he'll come out and he'll play a blinder.
I actually agree.
Completely wandering and missing. So at the end of the day, we need someone who's going to come in and put their mark on those roles. I think even more than our back line, those two positions currently. Yes, we have Perisic, but he's 33. He's not going to be there long. We need players who are going to come in there, and dominate on the wings. Do you know what I mean? So Gordon, for me, was never really a wise option, and I'm glad that it didn't materialize in the end.
He's an expensive sort of the way you described him too. He's a very expensive sort of player for the player that you sort of described as well. You're going to be paying over the top. Danny, your thoughts on Anthony Gordon? Maybe I guess that not happening. But Bobby K did want to say, "Love you boys," except Danny Little Kiriakou. So I just wanted to include that as player.
No, that's little K as in Bobby K's little son.
Except, that's right. Christian as well, the man who actually has even better hair than you, actually, I would say, Danny. But what would you say about this Anthony Gordon situation? Are you kind of surprised that maybe, we were even linked with the guy in the first place?
Oh yeah, I was completely surprised, to be honest with you. I think it's the only thing I could see the reason why they would go for him is because of the English quota.
Yeah, totally.
But that's the only reason. He's a good player. He was a standout player for them last season. It's a breakthrough year for him. He's got a bit about him, but look, some people have spoken to Everton fans, and I know Kuva was saying he was speaking to an Everton fan on actually the Free Spurs Boys channel, and he was saying that he's very frustrating player. Like, he's a really frustrating player for the fans. He's hit and miss basically. So for me, I think if you're going to bring in a youngster, he's got to be of a much higher level, even if he is English. Because if you bring in someone like Anthony Gordon, for me, I think personally, you hinder the guy's development. He needs to be in a team where he's playing week in, week out. At Everton, he's playing week in, week out in the Premier League. At Tottenham, he's hardly going to get a sniff. Let's be honest, he ain't going to get a sniff. If you've got Perisic, you can play there. You bring in a RICHARLISON, you've got Son, you've got Kulu, you've got Mora. He's not going to get ahead of even Mora, I wouldn't have thought. So I know he can play like on all across that front three, so the cam, the left and right wing. But someone like him, he needs to be somewhere, and I think Everton's a perfect club for him. If he can keep improving over the next couple of years, okay, maybe we can revisit him. But right now, I think it's the wrong move. I think if we're gonna go and get an English player, go and get a James Maddison. Go and get someone like that. That's who you go and get. Someone who can.
You probably get one that has
everything.
like a year or two left on their contract that would be a bit cheaper. Whereas with a Gordon, like, you're just be paying top dollar, and probably you're never going to be actually getting the player that's actually worth the price. I know we're already overpaying for other players. It'd be kind of crazy to overpay for a Gordon if you're going to overpay.
That's another big thing, mate. Is the fact that to get someone like him, and you're going to probably pay 30 to 40 million pound, and for me, he's just about worth 20. So to Everton, he's worth obviously that, but to everyone else, he ain't worth 30, 40 million pounds. Nowhere near that level yet. So yeah, I'm glad that we're not going to go for him. To be honest with you, I'd rather spend that extra money on going and getting a bloody right wing back. Go and put 60, 70 million down for Hakimi. I don't know why Spurs don't test the water of him. They can either do it, and I don't want to hear people say, oh, but it's Hakimi, he's got high wages. If Spurs put the money down, the clubs will talk. That's as simple as that. Go and test the waters. Why don't they test the waters?
Just for me on Anthony Gordon, first of all, Ali Boskart, he says, hey guys, new subscriber, but really enjoying the football chat. Richarlison is a great signing, but not really buying into Gordon hype for 25 to 35 million. For potentially a bench player. Look, I will touch on Gordon, but if anybody out there is enjoying the stream like Ali, we are 56 subscribers off reaching 7K before the season starts, which was the goal. So if you have an uncle, a dog, a goldfish, a hamster, or a son
with their own accounts,
who doesn't know he supports Tottenham yet, get the account and smash the subscribe button. Big up, Ali. Big up, my man. But look, when it comes to Gordon, for me, I do think 25, 30 million is expensive. I think, look, don't get me wrong. I think there's definitely something in the guy. He can play a bit of ball, but for me, I do think his decision-making at times lets him down. It's too inconsistent. Now, with Gordon, if he came in here, he wouldn't be a starter, but I firmly believe that was us chancing our arm to try and get him as a part of a deal for maybe Harry Winks, in my opinion. If we can offload that shit house and then get someone else in here that is homegrown, that can help meet the quota, but someone that you can work on and mold. But Conte doesn't really have too much time for that. He wants to go for it this season. Look, preferably you would like someone to come in that position. But if you look across it, you got Harry Kane, Son, Kulu, Lucas Moura, and most probably Richarlison. For me, I'd be happy enough with that going into the season. I would rather hold out because, look, you're never going to get everything we want done in this transfer window. At the end of the window, I'm going to say it now, everyone's going to be happy. Someone's going to be like, oh, but I wanted this and I wanted that. Everyone's going to pick something in it that they're not happy about, and rightly so. But we were never, ever going to get everything done in this window. So if Gordon is not our preferred target, long-term target in that position, hold off. You've got enough players there to carry you through the season. Plus, you've got Gil Messi, who could come back into the fold. Look, I don't think it's a good idea keeping someone like Troy Parrott, Dan Mbappe around. I do think you would like to loan them out to get them more experience and exposure. But someone like Gil is still hanging around there. You do not know he could end up maybe being kept around with what Everton were challenging for this season, playing in some of the cup games. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But for me, look, I like Gordon, but not right now.
Gill and Lo Celso are the most likely ones to leave, though. In fairness, they got the most marketability, the most kind of, you know, they've shown that they're not actually terrible players.
Yeah. Look, it could well be that, you know, Gill leaves, but if we want to have that sixth option there, who knows? We'll wait and see. But look, for me, I'll be happy with them 5 going into the season.
Philo123, come on, you Spurs says, what do you guys think of Cuadrado at right wing back? Great show and not happening, Philo. Just not happening, brother. Or Philo, I do apologize. But just 34 years old. As much as Paratici is a 33-year-old, I'm not sure if Cuadrado is rocking the steroids like Paratici is. So I think, you know, we're just going to have to, you know, pass on the guy. He is a legend, though. He is a legend, I would say, but not now.
I think Danny brings up a very good point, though, in the sense that the reason that we were looking at Gordon at all in the first place is probably because of the homegrown quota. And if we do need to bring in an English player, I'm not suggesting anybody answers this now, but I think it's something we're thinking about. Which English player would you want to bring in if we do genuinely need to fill that quota before the end of this window?
Well, do you know what, Adam? The thing is, right, we have to fill in. So even if Harry Winks goes out the squad, we've got to then fill 3 players. As it currently stands, I think we need 2 English players more to fill that quota, right? That's for Europe anyway. So essentially it depends on what they want to do, whether they want to register more youngsters into the squad. I don't know how they want to do it, but
I think that will be the way they'll end up doing it. I think Conte will hopefully have his tight knit of 17, 18 players, hopefully. And then the rest you fill out with youngsters. Look, Man City do it all the time. All the time. They make up the rest of the numbers with youngsters. Look, it's not ideal. Ideally, you want 2 players for every single position. I think that gets you 22 players. Plus, then you have, you know, a couple of players that you can throw in there. But look, this English quota, I wouldn't really be focusing on it. I wouldn't really be paying attention to it. At the end of the day, the club are not going to leave you short. They've never failed to meet it before. And, you know, if they could bring in, you know, their first choice players, get a squad of 16, 17, 18 players, just throw a couple of the youngsters in there, register them, and you'll be able to get through it. No problem.
It is probably why we're going for Spence, though, in fairness. Like, that'll probably end up materializing.
Yeah.
Good point. The bottom dude is saying, which deal would you prefer here? Completely hypothetical on 2 players we were linked with briefly. Zaniolo on a loan with an obligation to buy only if he plays 50 to 65% of the games. Or the second option, outright purchase of Çalhanoğlu. That is interesting. I'm actually crazy here. I might go for Çalhanoğlu, actually. I'd probably go for an outright purchase of Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Here's what I would say. Çalhanoğlu, like James Ward-Prowse has been heavily, you know, kind of hyped. And the big, you know, emphasis has been the free kicks, you know, and the, you know, the set piece, you know, specialist ability. Hakan Çalhanoğlu sort of kind of fits that bill completely, if not even almost. I wouldn't say he's better than James Ward-Prowse, but he's almost close, or if not, competitive in that regard. He's probably not too expensive at the end of the day because he is, you know, a bit older. He's probably more for the here and now than he is for the future. But he has been doing a bit of musical chairs, I would say, with clubs, because he went from AC Milan to Inter Milan and then to go to Spurs then a season after that. That would be a bit musical chairsy. But I probably would take Çalhanoğlu. Dave, I did a video on Zaniolo. You know, I like Zaniolo, but I do like Çalhanoğlu.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Çalhanoğlu as well, to be honest with you, Jack. Look, I like Zaniolo, but he's had a lot of horrific injuries over the last couple of seasons. It's a bit of a
loan, Dave. Like, maybe if it didn't go well, like, you could just loan him back. It'd be like Galini. It'd be a Galini of creative.
Kulusevski, Bentancur, or Kulusevski, you know what I mean? Something similar like that, where you bring them in on loan. It's up to them to prove your work before you splash out the money. Look, could very well work out. I mean, we've already done well with buying from Italy. Why not keep the tradition going? But look, I would like to give Çalhanoğlu a go. Is that the guy that was on loan at Leicester? No, that was what's his name?
Cengiz Ünder. Cengiz Ünder.
Yeah, look,
Çalhanoğlu, Dave, is that guy who had the best like free kick from like 60 yards.
Yeah.
He's the guy with that 60-yard free kick for Hamburg.
Yeah, I'll go with Çalhanoğlu.
Can I give my opinion on this, right? Çalhanoğlu, right?
Or Zaniolo on loan, basically. Either you have to pay money up front for Çalhanoğlu, or you get Zaniolo on loan.
I get Zaniolo on loan. I'd rather take Çalhanoğlu, right? Even though he's got some good stats for this season, I think he had like 12 assists in the Italian league. He's like Iggy. Obviously, Iggy watches a lot of Italian. I watch it sometimes as well. What I've seen of him, he's a very hit and miss player as well. He's like sometimes he just decides to turn up, other days he doesn't.
That is true. His whole career has been that way.
His whole career's been like that. He's a very hit and miss player. Like sometimes he will, sometimes he won't. It depends on if he wants to or not. And I don't want a player in the squad who's like that, who's not prepared to give their all every single game. And just because he feels like it, he wants to turn up. And when he does turn up, he can produce brilliance. But when he doesn't, he's just a useless person to have in the team. And the other thing as well is that the fact that the way that he left AC Milan, right? He is literally like a Sol Campbell. The way he
kind
left,
of is, yeah. And he also even just disrespected. He just disrespected Zlatan even recently.
Too much of a snake.
Yeah,
he's
a bit of a snake.
He's a big snake, and I don't want anyone like that near my club.
That's a good point. I even actually recently, just the other day on a debate show, I said I wouldn't. I'm actually in terms of being a flip flop. I'm a bit of a flip flop because just the other day I said I wouldn't take him because he disrespected Zlatan, which for me, is just a no go. And then with the points Danny just raised there, that is a reason maybe not to take him. With Zaniolo, though, an exceptional dribbler, the guy that has fearless, ability, to take on people. He is a bit of a powerhouse as well, the way he sort of takes on guys. He hasn't ever really produced world-class numbers, though, despite all the hype that's been around him. I would say I brought this up on the second channel, flatcapeurotalk, where with Zaniolo, I feel like he's kind of like an Odegaard, where like he's been on the scene forever, yet he's still only 22 years old. One of those kind of players where I feel like I've known about Zaniolo for like 4 or 5 years, but he hasn't ever really lived up yet to the hype that a lot of people have put up for him. And he still has plenty of time to reach that hype, to reach that potential. And
How much is that they're looking for, though?
I think, the premise is that we're supposed to pay 40 million or something for the guy. But with the situation that Bottom Duda has put up is, what if you get him on loan? Maybe that's a better situation where maybe if it goes really well, you pay whatever price for him. If it doesn't go well, you don't have to pay anything. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think they're going to, take a straight fee. There's no way they're loaning one of their best
too
players.
much. If we do spend 60 million on Richarlison, it's another 40 million on another striker. It's just completely unnecessary.
Yeah. But this is what I love about Bottom Duda. He makes you think. He makes you, want to put up. And honestly, he maybe just flip, back and forth probably 3 times there. So Bottom Duda, you probably achieved your goal of making me look a bit silly there. Absolute legend. I do really appreciate it, my man. And then last one here, Philo Coys, before we get on to the big questions here. Philo Coys saying, Gavardio for me would be a statement signing for us. Great addition as well. Also, Alfie Devine will be a star player for us in the future. What do you guys think? I think I'll let, the panel in on, Alfie Devine. But when it comes to Gavardio, I just don't think it's happening, this summer, Philo, where if it were to happen, it would be maybe in like January or like the summer or something like that. By the looks of it, he only just moved to Leipzig this season before. He's maybe signing a new contract because he did so well with Leipzig. That contract might come with a release clause that could be affordable, for most clubs. But I just don't see Gavardio leaving this summer. I see him leaving the following summer or maybe even in January after the World Cup or something. But I'm not sure, Philo. But when it comes to Alfie Devine, a star in the future, he says.
I think so.
I think there's big things to come from this guy, if I'm being honest. Look, he played in that cup game against Marine. He got his goal as well. He was highly sought after at Wigan when we signed him in the first place, so we done well to get him here. And Conte seems to be impressed with him and actually is looking to give him a new contract, so that'll keep him here long term. But look, for me, do you know what, Jack? If Papa Matar does not come in and do well preseason, I wouldn't be surprised to see Alfie Devine kept around, I really wouldn't. Look, it would
Feels
be
the homegrown quota.
Yeah, but again, exactly. But look, it would be ideal to send this guy out, let him get some first team football, because at the end of the day, playing first team football, it can teach, especially at the lower ends where people are playing to, for their mortgages and their livelihoods and stuff like that. It'll do them the world of good. You can pick up match practice. With match practice, that brings confidence. With confidence, it brings out more of your ability. It helps you shine. but he'll also learn little tricks of the trade, how to look after himself, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So for me, I think it would be ideal to loan him out, but I would keep an eye on Alfie Devine. He might
Big
just
up,
stick
Fibo.
around.
Appreciate support, brother, and do really appreciate that. It's a great question. Alfie is absolutely one for the future. Everybody, we're going to move into the main part of the channel. Absolutely love all the engagement. Absolutely love all the super chats. Absolutely love everybody. They're making fun of Arsenal, Dave, maybe bragging about the Richarlison rumors, to talking about the here and now. They're all over the place, but at least it's good to see that Spurs fans are happy. It's good to see that Spurs fans are happy. I think we're going to, get into the questions here. And normally, Dave, I kind of let all the other panelists go first, but maybe just for once, just because you're back, just because, we haven't had you in a while. Maybe I'll let you go first for once, Dave. Paratici, Fraser Forster, Basuma have been signed, and it looks like we're going to sign Richarlison. Are Spurs, maybe, Dave, intentionally signing kind of and maybe even targeting a meaner, tougher, bigger, stronger sort of type of player mold than they did in the past?
100%. Look, I've said this so many times. Being nice guys, not challenging the referee, not standing up, being a shit house, winding them up with every little piece of information you can. You don't win anything. Nice guys do not win. Nice guys finish last. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to be a nice guy, but they finished last. At the end of the day, nice guys will not win anything.
They finish fourth.
They'll let other people walk all over them. With Conte, he's trying to get a team in the mold that he is. Look, Conte is from an older stock. Conte is from a different era where you had to look after yourself. You said the nastiest things just to get an edge on your opponent. You bloody crunched them. You had look, even lower teams, even a lot of their players, they're like most players around the world at that time had rock steel mentalities, that winning mentality. And that's what Conte wants to instill in this team. Look, we've been too nice. We've been bullied. We've been out jumped. We're not physical enough at Tottenham. We're too nice. That's why we lost Battle of the Bridge. That's why we didn't come out there with the result we needed. That's why we fell short in the league, in the semi-finals, in the Champions League final, because we're too nice. We don't want to get up in people's faces. And that's what's missing from this Tottenham team. And that's what Conte, I think, is trying to do. You look at Perisic, look, them Croatians, they are steely mentality. You're going to get a good, solid professional. Someone who will stand up when you need them to be counted. Not like, look, yeah, it's great doing it against the likes of Brighton and Brentford, which clearly we need after last season. But someone that'll stand up when the going gets tough, when it gets rough, when people are up in your faces. But someone that can do it with a cool, calm mentality. Someone like Perisic, someone like Basuma in the middle who can get physical. You need physical players, put Højbjerg, Basuma in there. Let them bully them all day long. Basuma will thrive off that. Perisic will thrive off that. Richarlison comes in, another 6 foot plus player who will also thrive off that. Who's a shit house, who will not only thrive off it, but will get himself entangled in it. And at the end of the day, we've been too nice. Conte has mentioned mentality. I don't know how many times at this club, and that's what we need. We need players that are going out there rather than they're walking out there nervous on the big occasion. At the first 5-10 minutes, we can't string
licking their lips on the big occasion.
Yeah, but the first 5-10 minutes, we can't string 2 passes together.
Yeah,
we're
you're
sitting
right.
back. The other team have the ball. How many times have we seen it? Well, this will not happen under Conte with these sort of players coming in here, with this sort of mentality. We are signing players that want to win, with a winning mentality, that are hardened professionals, seasoned professionals. And this is what Conte needs. And this is what we need if we want to turn up when it matters most. Because, like Kane, Son, they try to deliver on the big occasion, but ultimately we end up always falling short. But with the added pieces in behind them, like a Perisic, like a Basuma, someone like Richarlison who can come off and change the game. We've now got Kulusevski, Bentancur, Romero there. I have no doubt now that when them games come around, we will show up and we will give it a good lash and we will be in the game rather than just rocking up and expecting to lose. And for me,
the point that
matters most.
The point that kind of comes to me here is Perisic, right? He just played 40 plus games in, like all competitions last season. He's 33 years old. If you ask me, not a lot of 33-year-olds out there are doing that for, a club of the size of Inter Milan. You would question whether he's on steroids. Fraser Forster could be in the NBA by the looks of it with how tall that guy is. And probably no one would even dare challenge him for a cross that's even close to his, area. And then in the case of Basuma, Dave, I mean, it's probably more fitting to call him Bossuma because he just bosses every midfield that's in front of him. And then in the case of, just Richarlison, like you said, maybe even more of a shit house, maybe even more of kind of a, an annoying sort of presence than Romero. And I didn't even know that was possible. Richarlison, you could even say, is almost like another Diego Costa, practically, of like the Premier League, to some extent. What do you feel like, though, Adam? Do you feel like, maybe Spurs are like just targeting, just these nastier sort of players, maybe sacrificing the technically gifted players like a Fabio Vieira that maybe Arsenal are going after, and we're going after the, the strong, annoying, physical type players instead?
Yeah, no, I think so, and especially when like all the players you just mentioned that we've already purchased and are seem to be set to purchase this week, but also the people that we've been associated with so far. You look at the likes of the Gvardiols and the Bremers. These are players that Conte has his eye on, and these guys are absolute. They're just bulls. These guys are a force to be reckoned with. And so I think even when you look at the likes of like just the discussions about Clement Longley and bringing him in on loan, the reason he wants to bring him in on loan is because if Gvardiol won't join us now, go for him next season. He's only 22, I think, right? No, he's only 20. And so we still have the opportunity to go. His career is only just beginning, and he's only going to get better. We have the opportunity to go for him again next season. So let's bring in someone for on loan to fit, to rotate in that position with Davies for now. But then bring in the absolute tanks that we want to have in the team going forward. So again, your Gvardiol, your Bremer. There's still an opportunity to go after Bremer. It doesn't look like Inter are going to get the opportunity to strike for him during this window, the way things are going at the moment, and so why are we not going in for him? If we go in and buy Bremer and then get Longley in on loan,
that would only add to this mold that we're talking about, getting a Bremer.
Absolutely. And Bremer, if you look at his statistics, he's in the 99th percentile for duels in the air, right? He's always wins his aerial battles.
I've heard some people say he's more aggressive than Romero is.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. So 2 years in a row we could get the Italian defender of the year. And if you just think about what a defense would look like with Romero, Bremer, and Gvardiol, it would just be like, there's no talk about the Belgian wall. This thing would just blow that out of the water. It'd be like the wall from Game of Thrones. Do you know what I mean? It's just there's ain't nothing getting past that thing. And it actually makes me feel as well that like when you're talking about players that have that bullying ability, we were linked with what's his name, Saint Maximin, a short while ago. I think that, in fairness, that would be a great shout for playing out on the left wing, because don't play him as an inverted winger, play him on the left wing, which he has also done for Newcastle. I mean, he's just gonna because he's got the skill and the physical ability and strength. Do you know what I mean? He would boss his way around the left side of the pitch. Saint Maximin would be an incredible choice, and we were linked with him, but that died very, very quickly. I'd love if we snapped him up, man. It would be something else, because again, you've got that the pure strength. We'd just be like rocks going through the opposition.
But physicality is also the great equalizer. If you don't have the ability of someone like a City, a Chelsea, a Liverpool, then physicality is always the great equalizer. Bring them down to your level. Take them off their game. Right. I guarantee you, teams with smaller players that maybe might have a bit more ability, they will struggle against us next season, because we will just bully them off the ball. So, okay, you have all that ability. Knock the ball by me. Stand in front of them. Take the ball off them. Thank you very much. They would struggle against us. Where Arsenal went wrong is, if everyone remembers back to the Arsenal team that was doing well, getting to Champions League final, win the leagues, they had big, strong physical players from back to front, 6 foot plus players, strong, And when they started bringing in the little idiots like, Fabregas and, the little fucking idiot Jack Wilshere, people like that, small little players, Arsenal haven't competed in I don't know how long because of that reason. Their great equalizer was having that physicality. Chelsea, when they won under Jose Mourinho, when they were in their prompt, look at the back line they had. Strong, physical players. Look at the midfield.
Nasty
United
as well.
also had them. United, physical when they were dominating. Man City, not so much. Maybe football has changed slightly, but the great equalizer is physicality.
I think that's
Can you imagine Aston Villa trying to knock us around next season? I mean, last season, Steven Gerrard clearly said, guys, just go out there and beat them up. And, you saw what happened to Doherty. Seriously, if I saw, it was Matty Catt, wasn't it, that took Doherty out? bent his knee backwards. Whatever it was.
That's not happening. And next time that
That's
happens,
not happening.
Matty Cash is getting shoved into the stands.
Absolutely.
By
The next time we play Villa, I can't wait to see what we do to him. But this is the thing as well. We have.
I can't wait to see what Romero will do.
I'd love to have Richarlison and Romero.
What Romero's going to do.
Situation.
Just see that, like seriously, Aston Villa are going to get slaughtered next season for what they did, and we have the players to do it now. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to be.
Imagine the situation where Højbjerg is the calm head on the field. Imagine the situation where Højbjerg is the calm head on the field. Normally, Højbjerg in the preseason match was shoving, the scum's, manager into his own seat. I mean, this guy is going to probably be seen as like the level-headed guy on the pitch. On the stage. That's how crazy we're about to get. Danny, I'm giving you probably the privilege, of giving you this, baller question, I must say next, which we're basically talking about when it comes to, the sort of players that Conte is sort of targeting. And, I think you probably are well aware that in the past, Spurs have had that sort of soft kind of mentality, even that sort of kind of rollover sort of kind of tag that people have kind of, attributed to us. Do you feel like, he's doing his best right now to change that as soon as possible? The players he's going after, we're kind of changing that. Is he practically trying to make, Spurs the most hated team in the Premier League? Because when you have Danny, Richarlison, and Romero in the same team, I mean, we're going to become like the most hated team in the Premier League practically.
Yeah, I think you could definitely see what
it seems like he's trying to just flip the switch from Toby and Jan, who are the most lovely, most likable people in the Premier League. Now we've gone to Romero and Richarlison. It's like it's the complete opposite.
He's still got to work on Eric Dyer and Ben Davis. I mean, he needs upgrades on them, but because they're not exactly the most aggressive people. Dyer, you can say an argument for that, but with what he obviously is looking to do, like you guys have touched on it, is that he wants to build a team that's the way it looks to us based on the all the transfer rumors and speculation going on there and the people we've currently brought in. He wants to bring in kind of strong players, with big mentalities, players who don't buckle under pressure, players that like to get in people's faces.
Look at the way we handled that Norwich game, Danny. Like it was just, the way they handled it was they had full confidence they were going to win that day.
Yeah, I think that's just the mentality he's trying to drive into the players. But obviously, you need more of those more Conte type players in order to kind of build that mentality that doesn't get lost, through the squad. Because if you have a couple of players that are who are the weaklings, like the Harry Winks of this world, then obviously you're never gonna succeed. So you've got to get rid of all the shit out of the squad as well. And I think that's why they want to do that. And I think you can see exactly what they're trying to do. And it's true. I was about to say this as well. He actually beat me to it. It's true though. It's true. But the thing is, right? Like what I'd like to see is I definitely want to see. If, I know we were talking about like a long lay before, and I'm all for if it is going to be a long lay this season for a 1-year loan, and they go for a top left centre back next season. At least you've upgraded on there. And then if I were you, I'd go and you need to go and get a Dyer up replacement, because if you don't solidify and get another centre back in, they have to get 2 centre backs in for sure.
There's no reason not to get Bremer now. He's only 30 million.
Bremer, well, as well. The fact that Inter Milan look like they're going to go and sign Milenkovic for 15 million euros. So they're going to if they sell Skriniar to PSG, they've made like 40-50 million pound on that. Plus they've got a cheap defender in who's very, very good. And then Bremer. The only thing about Bremer is I've got a funny feeling that if Chelsea stump up a world record defender fee for Matthias de Ligt, then I think Juve will go in for Bremer and get him as the replacement. That's the only thing that I can think of. So
we got to get him next week.
So we have to get him as soon as possible, basically.
Yeah. Charlotte's will be done by the end of the week. Let's get Bremer next week.
Yeah, I'd love to, but I think with Bremer, the only thing is with him is there's a lot of talk, and I know there's a few other people have said it, that he does want his Italian citizenship. and he's only 6 months away from gaining that. So
all he has to do though is buy property. If he buys property over there, then it still counts, even if he's playing here.
Really,
he can pull a Jorginho. He can pull a Jorginho. You know, he can get his Italian citizenship, then move over to England. Keep.
So then there's ways around it. Then so that means he could do that then, and then that means Tottenham can go all out and go and get him for 30 million euros, 35 million euros. It's a no-brainer for me, absolute no-brainer. And I just don't understand why they haven't even gone for Ndika yet. The guy's like 20 million pounds. He's on his last year of his contract. He's an absolute monster. He ticks every single box for Spurs.
Yeah,
he'd be a proper Conte player.
I think we're missing the biggest reason why we need backup for Ben Davies and Dyer. And look, I'm going to keep repeating this. Yes, they had great seasons. If that's what you define great, they had great seasons last season in a Spurs jersey. But let's not forget the other 7 years that they've given us. They have not been great. But as well, we also have to understand. Now, they threw Pochettino under the bus. They were part of what people who threw Pochettino under the bus. It's well documented. Davies went to Daniel Levy over Nuno. The players also got Jose Mourinho sacked. Now, without the competition, and we all know this, Antonio Conte, Gary Neville has said it on his podcast, The Overlap. Expressions has said it, that he spoke to Ashley Young about it. With how demanding Conte's regime is, with what he demands off you, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch, it's mentally and physically demanding and draining. What's to stop these players getting pissed off halfway during the season and throwing this guy underneath the bus because they don't want to do his regime anymore and they want to get the next guy in? And for me, that's why we cannot rest on our laurels with these guys. We've seen before, we can't do that. They will sacrifice points in terms of to get a manager out. They've done it with Pochettino, done it with Jose Mourinho, done it with Nuno. If they do not have the backup, there's nothing there to keep making them reach their levels that they reached last season. It's inevitable.
Excellent point.
They will come complacent purely because they're sitting there. Just Tottenham didn't sign any backup for me. They must think on the greatest thing since sliced bread. And inevitable, you will see a drop-off. So in order to keep this Conte regime going and not get players to throw another manager under the bus, you have to bring in guys chasing down for their spot. Because if they want to act the fuck, okay, Grant, you want to be a part of this season? Okay, Grant, we'll ship you off. Bring in the next guys that do, and we'll replace you in the summer. So it's with how demanding this guy is, it's very important that we sign players chasing down their jersey. And I think that's the biggest thing we need to take coming into this summer, because we've seen it before with managers that we like, bar Nuno. We've seen it before what they've done. They get pissed off after periods of time, and we've seen the pull they have. So we have to bring in players that are hunting them.
That's probably one of the most important things you'll say all night, Dave. In all seriousness, we got to get in some rotations for the back line as well, simply for that reason. We do not let players dictate what's going on in the club, and especially when we want to keep Conte, who gives a shit what they want. You get out there and you play for that badge.
Yeah, spot on. It has to be done. Jack, you're on mute, lad.
Ben Davies got Nuno sacked. I guess, he has more power than, I guess we ever realized. Ben Davies had a rich Wolves F1 saying, IrishHotspur, your panel and chat, absolutely top notch. Appreciate that, Wolves F1.
Well,
my absolute man.
Wolves F1, 688 people seem to be liking it right now, my man. So really appreciate it. I'm buzzing to see so many numbers on my return from my holidays. Your support today in terms of likes, subscribes, and super chats has been absolutely amazing. And this channel, which is for the fans, which we aim to keep trying to give fans more and more voices, it will not go places without you guys. So you guys are seriously important to everything we're trying to achieve here. So thank you very much. Keep smashing that like button. Keep smashing that subscribe button. We're less than 50 subscribers away from reaching 7K, which is absolutely phenomenal. So let's see if we can, how close we can get it done today. Let's see if we can get 400 or 500 likes on this stream as well. Big up all you guys. Your comments in. We're reading every single one of them. I'm really buzzing off this. So Jacko, let's keep it going on Wolves F1. Big yourself.
Brian Daigle, and big up Wolves F1. Really appreciate support, brother. Brian Daigle celebrating 16 months, and he's got honestly a crazy new kind of Google photo as well. And he's celebrating 16 months as a fan show member, Dave. And he says, hello, everyone in the chat and all on the panel from Toronto. He's now touched down in Toronto, everybody. So some people are tracking Paratici's flight to Italy. I think a lot of people are probably tracking Daigle's flight, back to Toronto. And he's saying, so all are still interested and registering our interest before preparing to make a bid. Lol, Dave. I think he's making a bit of a gag at the fact that Spurs are sort of the kings of declaring interest in preparation to think about making a bid in the future. That was my own rendition of it, Daigle. Hopefully,
look, I get sick of it as much as the next man, but we know this happens every single transfer window. It's been happening the last 10, 20 years. Look, I'm not surprised by it anymore. Look, I'm just not surprised by it anymore. It happens. Look, transfer market is a big money maker for the bookies, for the journalists. Everyone gets their cut out of it. Absolutely everybody. It's a big money maker for them. Of course, they're going to keep the rumor mills going. You see how they do it, even when players are on holiday. We've seen that last week. Players on holiday, just off the back of a long season international break, they still keep rumors going. I guarantee you half them players didn't even know. They're sitting there with 4 birds around them, a pina colada at the side of a pool jack. Half of them don't even know about half of these rumors going on. So, look, I'm not surprised, but look, I agree with Daigle. Look, preseason is getting closer and closer. The clock is ticking, and we need to start getting bodies in here. Hopefully, Richarlison gets done this week. We can end that saga and get the next guys in here because we have to keep Conte happy too. I just have to fix my chair. It keeps going down. It's pissing me off.
Pick up Daigle. Hopefully they let you off that plane, my man. Clearly, somebody's not letting you off that plane. I don't know, my man, but hopefully they'll let you out of there, let you out of the cage. But good to see Daigle touch back down at home. Honestly, he has 2 different homes and he's loved by both, but good to see you back home, brother. And honestly, good to see that you also traveled safely as well, brother. But to appreciate support 16 months, one of the OGs, absolutely, absolute goats. To bottom Duda with a super chat saying, if we sign Richarlison, do you think he will play a similar role that Tevez played at Juventus for him? Not comparing the two at all, but the roles could be similar. Hope you feel better soon, Danny. To bottom Duda, I think that's a really good comparison. I've probably made a worse comparison. I said that he could be similar to maybe a Diego Costa, was for, Antonio Conte in the past. Probably a Carlos Tevez is a better comparison when I really think about it. And in fact, that Carlos Tevez was carrying the likes of Alvaro Morata back in the day when people really rated Alvaro Morata. It was because the likes of Carlitos Tevez was, making that guy look very, very good, I must say. So to be fair, I think Richarlison could probably do exceptional in a 3-5-2. I don't know. I mean, Adam, Danny, whichever one of you maybe jump first here. I feel like Richarlison, I know the 3-4-3 he would look really good at because he could play the striker, he could play the left wing. But if we do go for a 3-5-2, if let's say Kane or Son isn't available, him in that 3-5-2, you'd be like, okay, like rest assured we have a striker up there that looks dangerous,
Definitely. There's no reason to believe that he wouldn't be able to pull off.
Because that's what Carlos Tevez played. He played in the 3-5-2, I think, back in the day, over at Juventus.
Yeah.
So
I think that you're considerably more likely to want to see him on the left side of the two. But apart from that, like it's he's the guy can do it all up front. So and he proved that for Everton when he had to he had to pull up his socks and do for the team what they couldn't do for themselves at the end of last season. So. There's no reason to doubt him. If we go to a 3-5-2, he's going to fit in there like a glove.
I mean, Daigle just text me. This guy's actually suffering on the plane, from what I can tell. So Daigle, I appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Still.
He's on the plane still, and honestly, it looks like he hasn't had a good smoke in like something like over 12 hours as well. So I must say the guy is just absolutely fuming by the stage. So Daigle, hopefully all is well. By the looks of it, you've traveled safely, but not the most comfortably. By the looks of it, not the most comfortably. To bottom Duda, really appreciate it. But Dave, maybe any thoughts on this? Maybe Richarlison, I compared him to Diego Costa, perhaps Carlos Tevez back in the day. If you remember that 3-5-2 that he was playing over at Juventus, maybe Carlos Tevez is a better comparison.
Look, if we go 3-5-2, I've no doubt it'll be Kane and Son, to be honest with you. But with Richarlison, if it's not working out with one, or one of them are having an off day, because we've seen that. Look, against the likes of Brighton, Brentford, where one of them are having an off day and they can't bail us out, it's important to have that option off the bench to come on and change the game. Someone that you can change your style of play. If you can't play through them, get the balls out wide, get it in the box, and get Richarlison on the pitch to go and attack them. He can score headers. We've seen him do it for everything. So for me, look, I do think, like I said, if we go 3-5-2, I think out of respect it will be Kane and Son, but Richarlison will be coming in here hungry. So who knows what he can do. But at the end of the day, it's all about having that options, that flexibility to be able to change formations. How many times when we ended up losing games, or drawing games, where people saying, why didn't Conte change the formation? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? And I kept on saying, because he does not have the options. You can't switch to 3 in midfield because we all know what Harry Winks does. It's like playing with 10 men. You can't change the formation. You don't have the players off the bench to make that impact that is desired. You get in these players, that's what it gives you. Basuma, Perisic, Richarlison, if they're not starting, they're on the bench. Imagine looking at the bench and bringing them off to change the game. And that's what it's all about. It's not about a first 11. It's about a squad like Adam was saying earlier. You have to have a squad. Everybody plays their part. You look at Man City, Liverpool, when they go and win cups, I can guarantee you can pick out a Minamino or someone who scored an important goal for them. You can pick out someone from City who may not start every week, but has played their part through the season by scoring an important goal. Divock Origi, a great example. I mean, the guy is absolutely atrocious, absolutely useless. But you play him in games, you bring him off the bench, he'll get you a goal. And that's what we need at Tottenham. If Kane and Son are having enough,
he'll be better than an Origi, that's for sure. He'll be better than an Origi, that's for sure. And to bottom Duda, all I would say too is I think that's a better comparison than what I made, in the case of, Richarlison and Diego Costa. Probably fairer to maybe compare him to the likes of a Carlitos Tevez. Really like that comparison to bottom Duda, and really do appreciate support as well, brother. Really throwing in the big ones and honestly keeping the discussion going. But we do still have questions prepared, if you couldn't tell everybody. And I do kind of actually want to get to Adam because he hasn't really had his say yet really on this. Is Antonio Conte eliminating the soft Spurs tag? Richarlison plus Romero. It's almost like we're trying to be the most hated team in the Premier League by the looks of it, Adam.
Yeah, no, I think I got to have my word on that because I was saying like the fact that we have, we've been looking at the likes of Gvardiol and Bremer as well going into the centre back roles. You know what I mean? Like that. It's just going to be a wall of ice, bro. It's just going to be a wall of ice. And then we've got Basuma playing in the middle. Whenever we have a really tough game, it's going to be Basuma Højbjerg. You know that because they're just going to be booting everyone around the place. I just want to see some muscle on the wings. This might be kind of a wild, almost like FIFA decision, as to who you pick for your wing backs. But if you can imagine Saint Maximin on the left and Adama Traore on the right, man, just absolutely like the size of them. So your whole team would just be like these big muscular guys who are just, you're not going to.
Sounds like we should compete for the Olympics in the 100-meter dash as well with that one, on top of it. Maybe we'd have some finalists in the 100-meter dash.
It'd be phenomenal. We'd be like the players, the opposition would be dead before the end of the game, man. They couldn't do 19 minutes against that. Those back five would just be unbelievable. I
love that. I absolutely love it. I actually have because we've been talking, kind of incessantly, I must say, about, these sort of player mold that we've been, maybe, discussing here. Danny, instead of letting David, defend our beloved Brian Hill Messi, I'd rather you go first and maybe tell us like it is, or maybe who knows, maybe you're a big fan of Papa Matasar, maybe you're a big fan of Troy Parrott. But, there's some players, coming back from loan, who maybe have the opportunity to perhaps prove Conte wrong, when it comes to his perception of them. Maybe they might bulk up, a bit, during the preseason. Maybe they might just absolutely ball out, in Korea, during some of those preseason games. Do you feel like maybe one of these three, it doesn't have to be any of these three, you can say none of them will, but do you think one of these three might maybe change Conte's mind this preseason?
Quite possibly. I mean, obviously he hasn't seen Papa Matasar. I think the one who's probably going to go out on loan is probably for definite, I'd say Brian Hill, just purely because Conte obviously wanted him to go on loan. He doesn't seem like he's a Conte mold type player. I think the only way that Brian Hill would stay is if he was bulking right now and came back like 3 stone heavier. In order to cope with the Premier League, if he came back a bit more bulky,
losing weight when it comes back.
yeah, exactly. If he came back like bulkier, I think maybe he'd have a look at him and he'd be like, "Oh, do you know what? Let's see what he can do now. He's a lot stronger and stuff." But I think
is Papa Matasar like a secret shout, perhaps? Like maybe he's a guy that all of a sudden like changes Conte's mind.
Do you know what?
This kid's actually a player.
I'll tell you right, because with Brian Hill, I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to see him play for Spurs under Conte.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
If Conte, unless he does that, unless he shows that he wants to play in the Premier League, because the guy's already himself said that it's a really tough league, it's a really physical league, so he's already doubting himself and his own abilities. If the guy's sitting there doubting himself, saying, "Do you know what? I want to go to the Premier League. I want to be the best player I can be," that tells you a lot about the guy's mentality right now.
What if I told you he's released some Instagram story? What if I told you he's released some Instagram stories of his biceps and his thighs of recent? He's showing that he's working out a bit. Danny, maybe he's
but the thing is, if he was bulking up, then it's up to Conte to decide whether he wants to utilize him or not, because he could be a useful player if he puts his head down. If he like I said, he needs to be stronger, because there's no way he's gonna deal in this league if he's not stronger. Pape Matar is a big question, because he's obviously tall, right? He doesn't know what his technical ability is like. He doesn't really know what it's like in training. So he could shock him, and he could give him like that Skip feeling, like how Skip makes him feel like he really sees there's potential in this guy, that he could be useful in the squad. But from what I've heard about Pape Matar is that they don't want to loan him out, and that his family don't want to loan him out, because they want him to acclimatize to London, UK life, and also I think they want him to acclimatize. I think they want him to at least have a season in the Premier League where he might play like cup games, get used to first team training with Conte, see how it is, and then maybe end of the season or in January they might say, okay, let's give him a loan. But I think we'll see him in and around the squad next season. So regardless of that, I don't think Sarr's going to get loaned out. I think he will be
he's the guy that actually proves him wrong.
I think he'd probably be the best shout. I think Parrot has had a good season. As club he was on loan to with MK Dons, wasn't it? When he was at MK Dons, he started to show a lot more of the kind of potential. He started to look like he's knuckling down, all this kind of stuff. That's brilliant. All that kind of stuff. But if Parrot, I still think that he needs another season at the next level up, because he was in the League One. So now if he's doing it right there, either he has another full season there and see how he does, or if they loan him out to the next level, to the Championship, and then see how he does. Because when he was in the Championship before, he didn't really do well, did he? So he had a bad loan. Then he went to League.
He might need to bulk up. To be fair, like he might be a.
Do you know what it is, Jack? With him,
he might need to bulk up.
I think again it'll be. I agree with you. I think he will need to bulk up as well. But I think with Parrot, the biggest thing about him was his attitude towards the game and his career.
That's right.
And I think what you've seen, the way he wants to train, the way he talks in his interviews, if you look at like it looks like he's starting to understand, if he wants to be a top professional, he's got to stop this party boy life. And he's got to really focus on.
I think he saw what happened to Dele Alli, and that was a healthy reminder. Maybe.
Well, maybe Jack, but we all know there's a guy who's got potential there, right? It's that keyword potential that everyone loves, right? If he decides to focus like a Skip does, like a Harry Kane did in his career, right? If he does that, there's no reason why he can't become a very good player for Spurs. He could be the new Robbie Keane for Spurs. He could be a really useful kind of player who's good on the ball, good off the ball. He's got good finishing. He's a smart player. He can pass. He's good. He's got a bit of everything, right? Not an amazing player, but he's got a bit of everything. But he could be that next kind of player for us. So it's all up to him at the end of the day. But I think it's too early for him this season. I think it is too early for him. I think one more season, and then we'll see how he does. Yeah, but I think Sarr will be the one. I think if anyone's gonna break into that team this season.
Yeah, look, me, Adam, and Philip and Dermot, we've been on Troy Parrott watch, most of the season, even in the off season, going and watching the Ireland games and stuff like that. And look, we'll let Adam in on Troy Parrott as well. But for me, I think when it comes to Troy Parrott, I think you look at the three of them. I actually think Troy Parrott probably has the biggest chance. You look at the guy, right?
That's good.
Look, he was hanging around with bad people. He was also brought Dele Alli was in that fold. They were pictured, drunk at races, etc., etc., etc. Now with Troy Parrott, he said it himself. He's had a mentality switch. That's why his season ended so good at MK Dons. He hasn't. He was waiting for someone to tell him what to do, but he's now grasped it himself. No one's going to give him a way into the game. It's up to him to find his way into the game, and that snapped with him. But you also look at the way he's progressed with Ireland. Now, I remember this guy playing in a friendly against New Zealand. I was expecting him to rip it up. he was quiet. He couldn't get on the ball. Under Pochettino, or was it Pochettino gave him a chance in one of the cup games we ended up losing? Again, he couldn't get on the ball.
Yeah.
Now, I'm seeing a complete different Troy Parrott now. I'm seeing a Troy Parrott, especially in Ireland jersey, that whether you play him out wide or up front, Danny, he's the one in the team. Look, now, it could be because Ireland have been very, very poor, but he's the one in the team that looks to make something happen. Play that ball in behind. Take shots off. He reminds me very much of Robbie Keane.
I know. So that's why I said it, Dave.
Someone that he instead of taking the easy option, passing it backwards and sideways, he wants to beat his man. He wants to make something happen. And Troy Parrott is becoming a very exciting player. But for me personally, I would like to see him at a championship club next season, loaned out, continue his development where he will get games, because I think he will score goals. And then the following season, I think he'll come back to Tottenham and be ready. And that's his aim. He said it himself. Not this season. Next season is his aim to try and get into this Tottenham team. But with how well he's done preseason, physically he can handle it. He can handle the physicality now. I think he has more of a chance than any of them other players to be able to get into this Tottenham team.
Interesting.
Now,
Big shout. Big shout. Yeah. Adam, I mean, what do you feel like? Brian Hill, Papa Matasar, Troy Parrott, any one of these guys going to prove Conte wrong, maybe in Korea or Israel for these preseason
Can I just
games?
add to what David was saying before? Sorry, Adam, to interrupt you before you go.
No worries.
Just to add to that, David, as well, I think you're right in terms of ability-wise. I think he's probably the furthest along the line in his development, so he's probably the best one to actually make that step up right now. But I think, like you said it yourself, he said it himself that he wants to develop in the championship maybe this season, so he can go up another level from last season and see if he can really push on from what he was doing at the back end of last season in a tougher competition. And that's why I say the only reason I say Papa Matasar this season over him is purely because that they want to keep him at Tottenham and not loan him out, because he needs to acclimatize and get used to things. So I think that he will be in and around the squad, training with the first team. And I think that's where you might see him in cup games. You might see him come on or make a substitute appearance. And that's where I don't think he's going to play a lot. I think he's going to be bit part player. But in terms of that respect, this season, I think he'll have more chances to play in the first team purely because Parrott is going to go out on loan to a championship team.
Yeah. Adam, Brian Hill, Papa Matasar, Troy Parrott, any one of these guys, you would put money on to, prove Conte wrong?
Well, I think Troy Parrott is kind of the no-brainer in the sense of he's proving himself internationally now. The fact is Ireland still don't have a good enough squad, but he's making waves. He did things for MK Dons. The fact is he's going to go in and have a preseason with Conte now. He's going to be an even better player coming out of that. And then you've also got to remember as well that if we are concerned, even in the slightest, about the homegrown quota, he still counts, because even though he's Irish, he came up through the Spurs Academy, right? Mm-hmm. So he still counts for that. I think Brian Hill doesn't really... Brian's not going to do anything. Like, again, I agree with Danny. He has to put on a crazy... Or was it Danny or Dave? He's got to put a crazy amount of weight on. Danny has to put a crazy amount of weight on right before he's going to be capable of playing in the Premier League, no matter how skillful he is. And that's just not going to happen overnight. It takes a long, long time. I know, as a really, really skinny kid, when you go to the gym, every day of the week for 3 years, you still only end up looking like this. Okay, so it takes time. It takes a long, long time for you to build to pack the muscle on. And the fact is, he's just not able to he won't be able to cut it at this moment in time. It could take years. Papa Matasar, okay, look, the thing he definitely has going from at the moment is AFCON, right? Because obviously, that really, really does stand to him. However, I haven't really been paying much attention to him, and he has. And I think if he was really making waves, then we probably would have heard something. There would be more news about him and his progression, but he seems to have kind of gone a little bit to the wayside since he's continued where he is. So I think that, Troy is a no-brainer. The other thing is, though, unless I'm very much mistaken, we could send them all out on loan. And during the season, aren't you able to recall loan players? It costs you money, but aren't you able to recall loan players? Right.
Yeah, if you put in you have to put a clause in that you can recall them before their loan spell is up. Yeah,
let's do that, because if we really needed to, there's no reason to have Troy there as it stands when you've got the 4 strikers we have, and then Paratici is a possible rotation player in there if we needed it, you know what I mean? But if the unthinkable happened and we lost a couple of strikers at the same time, recall Troy, and then he'd be the one that would be able to slide in. I can see Papa Matasar getting into the team over your Skips, your Højbjerg, you know, Bentancur and Bazooka. Like, there's just absolutely no way that he's getting in there. Do you know what I mean? And then again, I said what I had to say about Brian Hill. So I think Troy Parrott is a no-brainer if you wanted to keep one of them, especially when you've got that homegrown quota thing attached to him.
We also have to remember as well. Sorry, Jack. I know you want to move on, but
I want to put I was going to say, Dave, I want to put my money on somebody here. I actually have a huge say with this question. That's the reason I came up with this question.
I'll be quick. And I'll let you explode, Jack. That Jack's dying to explode with knowledge. I love it. But look, for me as well, you also have to remember with Troy Parrott, and this is why I have a sneaky suspicion he might be kept around. He's out with Mykonos. He's not partying. He's over there doing training. He's in the training camp.
He's at a training camp, yeah.
He's only finished preseason. He's only finished the season. He's had about 1 week off, and he's already over there in the training camp doing extra.
Yeah.
And that, for me, I think might stand to him come into preseason. He might just get the game time because he might be that bit ahead of fitness than others. And if he takes that game time, who knows? I don't see anything with Papa Matasar doing anything extra. Brian Hill, look, I'll be honest, being away for 4 days, I've switched my phone off, haven't really looked at anything, but apparently he's put on a bit of weight. But I just think with Troy Parrott, off the back of the international break, starting 3 out of the 4, scoring a couple of goals, the way he ended at MK Dons, he's took 2 weeks off, and now he's doing extra work, heading into preseason without being told. I actually think that fitness levels will stand to him coming into the start of preseason.
I just kind of want to break down each of these 3 players and then sort of make my prediction here. When it comes to Brian Hill, we sort of just maybe spoke about how practically Antonio Conte values someone who's more technically, the opposite. He values someone that's more of a grafter, someone that's more, hardworking, someone that can survive his preseasons, can give him, solid 7 out of 10s every single game, no fluctuation. So that's sort of maybe, when you think about it, Brian Hill, someone who's so technically gifted, someone who's so brilliant on the ball, but probably is maybe the complete opposite of a Conte type player. You kind of maybe think that guy is going to probably need to do a lot in order to prove Conte wrong this preseason. Either he's going to probably have to pick up 6 kilos of weight, in the next, month or 2 in order to prove Conte right, or gain 6 inches of height. And then on top of that, he's going to have an absolute baller preseason, he's just tearing apart maybe teams. And then Conte realizes okay, maybe this guy is Hill Massey, and, maybe I do need to put him into the team here and just, eventually give him, occasional games. That's what we're probably expecting if Brian Hill, proves him right. But when it comes to Brian Hill, do we really see him sort of doing that? I don't know. The real prediction I've made in the past is that Brian Hill gets sent out on loan again in order for Brian Hill to really prove Conte wrong, in order for Brian Hill really to prove the haters wrong, is that he needs to basically have like a 9-goal, 6-assist sort of season at whatever club he goes to on loan. Let's say he goes to Marseille. Let's say he goes to Brentford. I don't know. He needs to basically finish with 9 goals and 6 assists. That's what would prove people wrong. That would prove Conte wrong. When it comes to Papa Matasar, you kind of have to make Jack?
Sorry to interrupt you. Really sorry. I would love for Brian Hill, just to add on your point on him, I would love nothing more than to see him go on loan to a Premier League team, just to see how he can cut it in the Premier League. Go to a Brighton, like you said,
where we can all watch him play.
Yeah. Or go to a Leeds United, someone like a Leeds United. He could go to Leeds or someone like that. I think that's the type of team I would like to see him.
See what Ted Lasso can do to him.
See what Ted Lasso can do, isn't it? Week in, week out. Sorry, and as you were saying about Papa.
No. I agree with you. I actually, to be honest, this is an entirely different point. I'd like to make the case that maybe Marseille is not as bad of a loan as people like to say it is, because they do have Champions League football. And if he played as much as he did at Valencia, that he did at Marseille, that actually means he'd be playing Champions League football, which could be kind of interesting for someone like Brian Hill. But I agree. We would like to see him in the Premier League because we just want to see him play week in, week out. When it comes to Papa Matasar, I feel like, yes, you want to see him add a bit of bulk because he is maybe of the sort of skinnier type. At the same time, he's 6'2" and is 18 years old. So I don't really know what else you can really ask of the kid. He's already, maybe ahead of the curve in terms of the body weight sort of ratio, percentiles. So I feel like the kid, eventually will probably add a bit of bulk to himself But let's say, the same thing goes, like I said, what if, and maybe in Korea, if he's there, he just dominates a game, and like Brian and Antonio Conte's like, this guy might be, worth keeping around for, an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup match, or even just someone to bring on for the Harry Winks role, the last 20 minutes, the last 10 minutes of a game, maybe Papa Matasar is that guy. I'll say Troy Parrott was the last of my sort of options that I thought would impress Conte. So to hear, the Irish lads below me, kind of give
Probably
him a lot of praise.
Biased, bear in mind.
But
Maybe
give him a lot of praise, give him a lot of hype, and even, that sort of training camp or whatever that he's a part of makes me suggest that if anybody is trying to fit this whole Conte mold that we've been talking about for an hour.
Yeah.
If anybody's trying to fit that Conte mold, it looks like Troy Parrott's maybe making the best effort. So as much as I made a case for Brian Hill-Messi, as much as I made a case for Papa Matasar, by the looks of it, Troy Parrott's making the best effort at it, trying to be the Conte type player. So it will be an interesting battle, because I think one of them will prove him wrong. I would really be surprised if he goes through that whole preseason, Dave, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I don't want any of them. I think one of them is going to prove him wrong. And he's going to be
Parrott
like,
has made the statement that he wants to. Parrott is the only one that's actively made the statement and said, I want to show what I can do in preseason.
What I will say with that is, I've also heard Dele Alli say, I want to make a comeback, rub myself up. Take a picture out in Dubai. Look at me, I'm ready for the new season. I've seen Ronald McDombele do it, out sprinting around and everything else. Look, I like people making statements, but I've heard so many players at Tottenham, especially over the last 2-3 years, make these big, bold claims and not live up to it. One thing saying it, it's another thing doing it. Look, I do think, Adam, where Troy Parrott is at now mentally, I do think he'll deliver. I think he's a guy with a firecracker up his arse, and he is ready to hit the ground running. He's realized he could have lost his career with the way he was going down, but he's reclaimed it and he's coming back bigger and better than everybody. This is someone that was too good for our under-23s, banging in goals left, right, and center, too good. And he's now developing nicely. But again, I'll be hesitant with these statements because, I've seen so many Spurs players do it and just piss me off the next day. So
that is true.
Even Brian Hill's Instagram stories are very, Dele Alli-esque. I must be honest. It does scream Dele Alli. Dark Sun G with the super chat saying Conte happy with transfers equals Kane plus Conte new contract. We've said this 1,000 times, Dark Sun G. When Kane's happy, Conte's happy. When Conte's happy, Kane's happy. And in fact, I would probably say it's almost a chain of command. When Conte's happy, Kane's happy. Probably then the rest of the squad is more or less happy by the looks of it. So Dark Sun G, absolutely spot on, my man. Absolutely spot on.
Just quickly to add to that, let's not lose sight why we need to have this window. You need to keep Harry Kane happy, to keep him, to show him a vision that there is a chance of winning trophies so that he signs that new contract. You need to keep Conte happy because he's the one that's going to bring the squad together to deliver that. So, look, it's important we get these business done. We get Harry Kane tied down to a new contract, end speculation over his future, same as Conte, and let's fucking kick on. This season's going to be a good one, Dark Sun G.
Wolves F1 celebrating. He's become a new member, Dave, and he's grabbed the fan show membership. And Wolves F1, if you do want to come on and chat about how, good looking Raul Jimenez is, or, just chat about, anything, maybe I would say you're probably going to have to keep it Spurs related, as much as you probably want to spend your whole 10 minutes talking about Wolves. I don't know. That might be the one rule. Maybe, Dave, we might have is that you have to keep it somewhat Spurs related. As much as I would love to chat about how good looking Jimenez is, maybe you're going to have to, change that to flatcapeurotalk, for the membership. But
he loves Tottenham.
Appreciate support.
He's in all the Spurs chats. He absolutely loves Tottenham. I've no doubt he wants to come on and talk about Tottenham. He absolutely loves us.
Legend.
Change your crest, my man. Just do it. Your look to that Spurs crest, give it a kiss, and be one of us, my man. It's a great feeling.
OG Lowe saying, I've got a feeling we're going to be seeing Ndombele in a Spurs shirt this year.
No
I think
way.
the Turkish League links has kicked him up the ass. Might work. Okay. OG Lowe.
This is going to take.
I have been OG Lowe. I have been the biggest defender of Ndombele. If you now think Tanguy is all of a sudden with these Turkish links gonna turn into the player that we all of a sudden thought that he would be, I would be absolutely shocked. I have given this guy all the faith in the world to turn into the player that we all know he could be. but he has betrayed me on every single occasion that he has, done that. So I don't think these Turkish leagues are going to help him. But Dave, while you've been gone and while, you've been enjoying your time off, we did have a stream about finding Ndombele a new home. And it turns out the Turkish links are supposedly out there. The question I did put up to the panel was, how do you see Tanguy Ndombele doing in a Fenerbahce versus Galatasaray Istanbul derby?
Look,
not very well.
Ndombele, Ronald McDombele, Endom Fadas, whatever you want to call this idiot. Look, for me, he's done, Jack. This guy was put out there against, teams that half of them were working as electricians and laying bricks during the day. They find themselves playing against Tottenham, and this guy is running around like he's fucking after eating a pound of spuds, right? Then you look at, against Morecambe. The guy was hauled off, booed by Spurs fans. The performances I've seen this guy put in on the pitch, I do not want to see him in a Spurs jersey ever again. It does not send out the right message. Even if he does put his head down and he works hard, could not give a fuck. At the end of the day, he's been here 2 years and done jack shit. Just a bit like Dele Alli, 3 years before we moved him on. I do not care. If you give him another chance, it sends out to people that, you can come to Tottenham, take big money, record transfer fee, and you can piss about for 2 years until you're ready. Don't want it to happen. At the end of the day, Conte shipped him on for a reason last season. The only reason why he's not gone out the door now is because we're trying to recoup somewhat what we paid for him. Not going to happen. His loan spell didn't go well at Lyon, so there's no fucking interest. Tottenham are struggling to loan him out because they're trying to get his wages paid and he's on extortionate wages, and the clubs will not meet that sort of wage. So we could be in a position where we're stuck with him. Paratici just has to rip up the contract and tell Endom Fadas to go and find a new club. It's too late for him to be running around. Before he was running around, and 10 minutes later on the screen, his fucking ass would follow him. I'm fed up with the guy. Absolutely fed up with him. At the end of the day, he's got to go. We've got to get rid of this culture. Look, I like OG Lowe. He's been in here before, and this is nothing against him. But I feel strongly when it comes to this guy because
Dave, I think he's trying to say that Spurs aren't going to sell him. I think he's trying to say that Spurs aren't capable of selling Ndombele, that Spurs will actually be in the position that he will have to wear a Spurs shirt next season because Spurs ended up being incapable of selling him. If I would be suggestive, OG Lowe, I'd actually rather him just wear the white t-shirt that Adam or Danny are wearing, for the training sessions, because he's not even going to be training with the squad. So why would he even wear the training kits if he's not going to be training with the squad? Dave, I think that's what he's trying to say, is that Spurs will find it impossible to sell him. Spurs will find it so impossible to sell him, he'll be wearing a Spurs shirt next season. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Jack, the jerseys won't fit him. Look how skinny they are now for it. They will not fit him. They won't fit him. They'll have to go off and get one specially made. Look, this guy is done out here. He's done. We had to bring in Højbjerg to provide steel behind him. We've brought in Lo Celso. We've brought in Bentancur. Skip has now come to the fore. We've brought in Basuma. Endom bye-bye now. It's not Ndombele. It's Endom bye-bye. Time to go. Finish with the guy. Look, he's had his chance. He ate his wages and fucked off back to France. Fucking stay over there. I've had enough of that. I've seen it all over social media. Oh, what about Ndombele? When are Spurs fans going to learn? Stop accepting mediocrity and players that are coming over here and taking the piss out of the football club. Stop accepting it. If we want to win trophies, you will not win anything with Endom fucking Lardass in this team with his arse following 10 minutes behind him. You will not. I'm sorry, OG. I just feel passionate about Ndombele. I really do.
Avi Troop saying only advantage we have over the Chelsea scum and Man United is that we have the best front three. Just need two attackers to complement them, but the defense and the right wing back are the key factors. Avi, that is a very good point there, where when it comes to the front line, we do need improvements in the fact that we need depth and we need quality depth there. But do we really need starters in the front line? I'm not exactly sure. I think that'd probably be the last of our priorities. Where we need starting first team 11 players are in the center back positions, as well as the right wing back position more than any other position, like you just said there. So I don't know, Dave. Sean has brought this up before. Like, he thinks we're kind of building the car backwards when it comes to the transfer window. We're buying all the attackers when really we should be buying the right wing backs. we should be buying the center backs. I think Avi, I don't know if he's really saying this here, but he's just trying to point out that, maybe Spurs do need to focus on the positions that we actually should be going after.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think, I said it coming into this window. I think defense was an area, like even wing backs, where we massively needed to improve, especially at centre back, in my opinion. I think, you look at majority of goals we can see the last season, it comes from players turning their back on shots when they're getting paid to do it. Like if I see guys out there on a Sunday league running out full frontal, hands behind the back, ready to take one in the baby carrier, you know what I mean? Like there's no reason why Dyer shouldn't be doing that. Why Davies shouldn't be doing that. I've seen these guys turn their back on the ball. Don't compete enough from set pieces. So we have to improve defensively, in my opinion. It'd be interesting to see what Danny or Adam think on this super chat from Navy Troops.
I mean, guys, do you think we're building the car backwards, Adam? Do you think we're building right wing back, center back?
We had a fairly, but by the time we got Bentancur and Kulusevski in, we had basically covered. We had all of our bases covered for a fairly decent first 11, and all that we're really doing is we're buying spare parts, because we know that the car is we're going to rally the shit out of this car. It's like we're doing Formula One and we have to constantly make pit stops because we know we are fucking the shit out of these tires. Do you know what I mean? So it's absolutely necessary that every single element that needs to be replaced from time to time can be replaced. So it's not
like we're Haas in the Formula One, Netflix series. Kane and Son are Haas. They're constantly making pit stops.
So it doesn't make any sense to go, okay, well, why were you not focusing on this or this? We have to get an extra everything. So we've got our extra central midfielder. We got our extra left midfielder or left wing back. We seem to be getting our extra striker. Now we just know that the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get an extra centre back and an extra right winger. Those things are coming. I don't think it really matters which order, as long as they're all in the time that Conte is happy with. Do you know what I mean? Which, aka pre-season. Do you know what I mean? So this is what's absolutely essential, is we get them in, get them, 2 more players after Richarlison in before preseason starts, which we probably will do next week, in the most likely shape of a Clement Longley loan, and then maybe a Jed Spence. Do you know what I mean? So as long as we have those extra parts that we can rotate, we're all good, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen because Conte.
I think it's happening. It just seems like we want it before Korea. Before the preseason happens. This is the big deadline, that people are kind of thinking about. Big up Avi Troops, though, I must say.
Jack, do you mind putting that super chat back up for a second?
Yeah, let me find it.
Quickly make a very quick point on it. Sorry. Just regarding what he was saying, right? I think Avi Troops is spot on about, even though we have the best front three attackers, we still need 2 attackers. I've been banging on about this, and this is why I said I would rather have gone for Rafinha and a striker like an Emmanuel Dennis or someone like that, because Rafinha can play left wing, and he's going for Chelsea now, so we've got to forget about him now. But bringing in Richarlison, you still need another striker or another player who can play in a versatile position, who can play as a striker and a winger. Because for me, Lucas Moura doesn't do it for a right winger. He's not good enough. And if we're going to have him as our backup winger, I'm sorry, he plays better as a centrally than he does as a winger. How many times have we seen him, how bad he is on the wings? He's fucking awful. We have to be honest, right? And if we go into the season with Kulu, Son, Kane, and Richarlison, and you could say Moura as well, that is not enough to compete for the top, compete for major honours. If you want to compete for major honours this season, if you want to do that, you need to go and get another striker. Look at Man City, look at Liverpool, look at Chelsea. They've got abundance of attackers they can rotate in different positions all the time. That's what even Man United are probably going to have the same next season. Yeah. Potentially even Arsenal. Maybe not. Forget Arsenal for their shit. But you know you are. You're shit. Cry asleep tonight. But I do agree with this, and I think I think why they're going for Richarlison now is because Everton right now, they need to make the money before the end of the month. They have to put that then. So I reckon Richarlison could be done in the next few days, if I'm honest.
No, it's happening this week, Danny.
It's definitely happening this week. So they have to put that through their accounts so that they can show it. So for the FFP ruling, so it has to be done. And I think that's why they're focusing on that now, because they want to just get it out of the way.
It's just the prime opportunity to do so.
That's exactly it, Jack. It's a prime opportunity. And I think, like Adam was saying, someone like a Longley could be another prime opportunity, because if he's got a week, apparently, obviously, they've given him a week to decide. That's because in a week, or in just over a week and a half's time, we're going to Korea. So potentially we could get him in as well. So if you get that in, and maybe a Jed Spence by then you've got 6 players in by then. But doesn't mean that's going to finish there. I guarantee you, I've already said that I think we're going to sign another. I think we're going to have another maybe 6 or 7 players come through the door, in my opinion.
That'd be spectacular. Everybody, we're just going to let Adam, I think, go, because he has some very, responsible duties ahead of him for the rest of the evening. And we're also, a few separate times, I must say, we have plugged, I think, Adam's movie as well, Follow the Dead. Adam, that's what I've decided to plug. I don't know if you want to plug it or anything. I do apologize. It's just like, looking for something. And I know that is your movie. I put it up a few different times, but I do appreciate you taking the time out of your evening, brother, to come on. Absolutely contributed a lot to this panel. But I don't know what you have to say left up. Whatever the floor is yours. The floor is yours. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, Adam.
Everybody has to do it at some point during the night. Just thanks so much for that. It really is, I massively appreciated to give the movie a shout out. It's the thing that's biggest thing going on in my life at the moment, especially during the summer when there's no football to watch. So yeah, Follow the Dead is my movie. You can check it out on followthedead.com or Follow the Dead movie on all of my social media. So much appreciated. I'm really grateful for the shout out. And as always, really, really love being on here, guys. And thanks for the chat. It's been a pleasure.
Nice to see you.
I've spammed the link a few different times. I'm pretty sure definitely people have clicked on it by this stage. I've spammed it in there because sometimes, one link isn't enough. You just got to kind of force it into them, give them that link and then they'll click on it and check it out. But Adam, honestly, apart from, I imagine, your impeccable, kind of movie critiques and your movie sort of opinions, you have been insane tonight, my man. Really appreciate you, coming on and giving your Spurs opinions at the end of the day. Appreciate you.
Thanks a million, Jack. Thanks, everybody. God bless. Come on, you Spurs.
Everybody, show Adam the love in the comments. Show him the love in the comments, everybody. But we are going to keep moving on to a big question tonight. And I don't know if Danny's been ready for this, Dave, but we do actually have, a pretty big question still left. And it's kind of a crazy one probably to end on, but that's just kind of how the IrishHotspur, I think, works, to be fair. It's nothing easy, nothing kind of, relaxed to end on. OG Low, though, saying, Hill Messi and Richarlison time Scarlet in the Cups. Whoa. I don't know, Dave. 3-5-2, perhaps Richarlison, Scarlet up top, Hill Messi behind them. It sounds a bit FIFA-ish, the way that I've kind of described that. But I don't know.
Look, I still think you'll see Lucas Moura's name in there, potentially maybe Kulusevski, depending on the game. Look, you get in Richarlison, like I said, it would be nice to keep one of them around, maybe a Gill. I think, look, with the likes of Scarlett, Troy Parrott, I really do think they will benefit from going out, and finding their way into the game. I think they'll benefit from the first team minutes. I think they'll benefit from going out and banging in goals regularly in the first team. With Gill, I would like to see him kept around. I nickname him Gill Messi. I think it's very similar he has very similar attributes maybe to a Luka Modric. I still remember that time he nearly broke Pulisic's ankles against Chelsea. But at the end of the day, I'm just not sure whether Conte really fits him into that system. Look, I would like to see him given a go this year, purely because we have players that care. I think him and Scarlett were maybe hard done by last year. They were playing with a midfield of Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks. I mean, players who just didn't want to be here. Throw Dele Alli in the mix, They weren't given a fair crack at a whip. You put them in and around solid professionals in cup games, because you remember, you'll have two of the midfielders, whether it be Skip, Højbjerg, Bentancur, or Basuma, playing in there. You will give them a chance to thrive. But look, I'm not sure whether... Look, it's not ideal, because at the end of the day, I want to build a squad. So having to rely on these guys is not ideal, OG Law.
Not ideal at all. But I like the optimism. I like the thinking. It sounds very fun for a FIFA career mode of some kind, maybe in the future. But big up, Philo. Do appreciate XG Low. I did miss this, Dave, and I do apologize. Sebas Wolf, our man out in New York. Sebas, if you're still watching, I do apologize, my man. This was a while back. He's still here, Sebas. So, Sebas, here you are, my man, celebrating 3 months, Dave. Sebas, I know it's been longer than that. So, I just, I know you've been around much, much longer than that. But Sebas says celebrating 3 months, Dave. And I do believe it's actually just making sure it might be as a fan show member. The guy might be that much of a legend. And he's just saying, just making sure, he says, celebrating 3 months as a fan show member, saying, come on, you Spurs, exciting times ahead. Big up, Sebas.
Yeah,
and hopefully you're keeping well, my man. And the RICHARLISON news, maybe they've just made the news even more exciting for you. And we'll be celebrating the RICHARLISON news for the rest of this week in this very hot summer out here in New York, Sebas. But big yourself up, my man. Hopefully you're hanging out, with the lads, just chatting about RICHARLISON, what he's going to be bringing, to the team. And they're just, sitting there, in angst.
I always see Sebas in and out of the chat. He must be a very busy man. Sebas, when are you going to come on to the fan show and have a talk with us, my man? This Monday, Friday. Come on and have a chat with us, my man. You're always in the chat. You've been linked with this channel for a long time, my man. It'd be nice to get you on one of them. Big up, Sebas Wolf. Really appreciate the support. And then we'll take this one, and then we'll crack into the last question of the night.
And then Philo Coy is saying, who is the GOAT, Lloris's successor? His last year, to be honest, it's true. I mean, Forster is a very temporary, sort of player. He's not going to be replacing Lloris. He is very much a backup to Lloris. Gavin Bazunu just moved to Southampton. That is a bit of a worry, because he will get plenty of playing time over at Southampton. But I must say, let's say he has a great season there.
Go and get him.
Maybe if Spurs are looking for that Lloris replacement, they might pay whatever it takes in order to get whoever they think is the next best in line. I'll be honest, I think Spurs would be silly not to go for more to that modern sort of goalkeeper. I think Gavin Bazunu is practically the Irish Manuel Neuer. He's like the most modern kind of looking goalkeeper of the future. That kind of, like being able to play out the back, being able to ping it to somebody's chest, being able to rush outside his box, all the things that, the older goalkeepers of the days weren't really able to do, but the newer goalkeepers are. And that's why I really like Gavin Bazunu. And I'm actually quite proud of Southampton, I must say, to be able to do their scouting and get that guy. But Danny, to the super chat, I don't know, we are going to have to find a Lloris replacement, but I think it's just going to be whenever we think Lloris is willing to go. And then we'll just find whoever we've been keeping an eye on. I bet we've been keeping an eye on somebody like a Bazunu.
Yeah, I think
because with goalkeepers, you have all the time in the world. You have all the time in the world to keep an eye on somebody.
You can. I think they're going to take the time on the keeper because they obviously they want to try and bring someone in who's going to have another 10-year kind of stint sort of thing. Yeah. I think that's what they want. They want that kind of solidity in as a goalkeeper because I think every great team is built with a great goalkeeper. With Lloris, did he sign? Or was it a 2-year extension? Didn't he?
I think it's 2 years. So we have about another year to practically.
Is it another year with a year optional extension as well? I think, isn't it? Or I can't remember.
I think it's one more season after this season.
Okay, yeah, so 2 years, yeah. So we basically got Lloris for another 2 years. So in that time, they're going to be obviously, and even Lloris said when he signed his extension that he wants to help Spurs to identify the next keeper when he decides to leave, if he doesn't stay for longer than his actual term or his contract currently. So I think that's going to be important because it now gives them 2 years to extensively scout a keeper, with Lloris actually trying to help them identify who he thinks as well could be the next best thing or the next best thing in France, the next best keeper he feels could be. So yeah, there's plenty of time for it as long as Lloris keeps up that level of performances that he's been giving us, and it doesn't completely dramatically drop off, because then they would have to worry, because if he drops off, then obviously we're going to have a problem. And I think then they'll start looking more sort of as a kind of what's the word, more as an important signing basically. But I think for now, I think it'd be interesting to see. I don't think any of us can sit here and say who it could be, because like you said, Jack, Bazuna's now gone to Southampton. So
it's whoever they've been keeping an eye on, and I don't think we have any idea who they've been keeping an eye on. And I reckon they've had someone they've kept an eye on for the last 3 years.
I think they've probably been looking at Dean Henderson, and I think obviously he's gone on loan to Nottingham Forest, hasn't he now? So he's got a loan to Nottingham Forest, right, for a year I think it's an option to buy. I can't remember, but you never know. In a year's time, Tottenham they might start thinking, okay, maybe we go and get a keeper next summer. They might go and offer for Dean Henderson if he has a good season, or they might look at Bazuna and they think in 2 years' time he could be a top keeper, and then they go and put 40-50 million pound if he's worth that then on a top keeper and go and get a replacement then.
But that's why, Danny, it's important to get a lot of the business done. We need to get done this summer.
%1,000,000%.
So that next summer you do have
That's
that
the
big
only
money.
priority.
Yeah, you have a lot less priorities next season, so that you can take your time and spend that big money. Look, I think Bazunu, who's gone to Southampton, I think definitely keep an eye on him. You know, I think he's a very talented keeper. He's a modern day keeper. He's got a great passing range. He's a very good shot stopper. Made a few mistakes when he first came into the Ireland setup, but since then hit the ground running, been unbelievable. He's number one choice over Kelleher from Liverpool. So I think he's definitely one to keep an eye on. A bit gutted we didn't go from this season, but I can understand why we brought in Fraser Forrester. But keep an eye on Josh Keeley. This guy is very, very highly rated throughout Ireland. Ireland are producing a lot of top keepers.
Yeah, they are.
Bazunu, Kelleher, Travers at Bournemouth. You know, this guy Josh Keeley is very, very, very highly rated in Ireland. And he will be working with Hugo Lloris and Fraser Forrester for the next couple of years. So who knows? Maybe they've already got it in disguise, and they're just going to develop him.
Quite possibly,
Good point there. Big up, though, Philo. Really appreciate the super chat, and do appreciate support throughout the whole stream, as well as XG Low. Do appreciate it. Tyler Gretzula, before we move on to the last question of the evening, member for 2 months, Dave, as a Flat Cap member, saying Ndika and Bremer and either Singo or Frimpong for right wing back. Ndika, I'm a huge fan of. He could play that left-sided center back role. Bremer could play through the middle. He would be excellent competition for Eric Dyer. And then you have the choice of Wilfred Singo or Frimpong for right wing back. Dave, just to answer Tyler, because I know he wants the answer. Probably not for me. I bet he's tired of my answers, on Flat Cap, Euro Talk. I would actually go for, I know everybody loves Frimpong because he's had an excellent season. I'm just going to go for Wilfred Singo because I think Wilfred Singo, I've heard some very smart people say that guy's a bit underrated. But Dave, Singo or Frimpong, even if you have an opinion, what's your opinion?
I actually know a bit about Frimpong. He played for Celtic before he got his move to Germany. He's a very he's a good player. He's a good player.
He's done well there. He's done well at Leverkusen.
Yeah, he's done very well. Look, he has all the attributes. The only thing is, I think he's very, very small for the Premier League. I'd be worried that he would get bullied. So
who's that? Frimpong.
Frimpong. He used to play at
fullback. I thought Frimpong was 6 foot.
No,
Singo is definitely 6 foot.
You sure?
Singo is like 6 foot.
He could have been an Oompa Loompa in Willy Wonka. He's tiny.
Frimpong is tiny. Frimpong is tiny.
He's tiny.
Oh,
for me, I think.
Oh yeah, he is. Fucking hell, yeah, shit.
He's like,
Single for me. I think Frimpong. I think a bit like Tyreek Lamptey, to be honest, very similar to Tyreek Lamptey. For me, I would rather go for Singo and definitely get a Bremer in here.
There you are, Tyler.
Yes, I agree.
There you are, Tyler. There's your answer, my man. Do really appreciate support for 2 months as a Flat Cap member. Last question of the evening. Yes.
I just want to say quickly, we are 18 subscribers away from reaching 7K. Nearly 70, 80 subscribers on this stream alone. Absolutely incredible. Guys, let's see if we can get it done. Also close to 500 likes. Let's see if we can get that done as well. We're going into the last question. It's an absolute doozy. So before we do, if you haven't smashed that like button, get your mother, your granny, your father, I don't care. Get them to smash the subscribe button. Let's see if we can get 7K done. And guys, feel free to get your super chats in at any time. As you can see, we've had a great discussion on them throughout. But look, Jack, I mean, we don't want to keep people up too late. We don't want to get them started in the morning. Their boss is going, why are you so tired today? Well, I can't help it. The Irish Hotspur is so riveting. It made me tired. It kept me up late. So let's get this last question out of the way and let's get these people to bed so they can get to work in the morning.
It's a big one, Dave. So you're just going to have to end it off here, Dave. You're just going to have to, say your piece and just end it there. But it's going to need to be a big one. So prepare your lungs, for this one. Paratici, Dave, I think we've noticed, has a lot to do this summer. In fact, in the next 2 weeks, he's probably going to need to sign a left-sided center back and probably a right wing back in order to make Conte completely happy before he goes into the preseason. I do believe Conte said he wanted at least 5 or 6 signings before he even went into this trip for Korea. So he does have, something that he does need to get done. in the next 2 weeks. On top of that, though, Dave, he has plenty of outgoings to handle with the likes of GLC, Lo Celso, Indom Fatass. He has Rodon. He has Emerson, Reguilon, Harry Winks as well. Plenty of other fringe players that he's going to have to decide whether he loans or keeps and whatnot. But he also, Dave, he made a bunch of hirings, in the likes of Gretar Steinson and whatnot, for the various, roles across, the Tottenham department for improving the club. It seems like Dave Paratici has given himself a lot to do, by the looks of it, this summer. Do you feel like, he's that sort of guy that can handle the pressure? And let's say he survives the next 2 weeks, Dave. Let's say he does bring in a right wing back and a center back by the time we set off for Korea. Do you feel like people maybe need to take a step back and realize that this guy is moving 1,000,000 miles an hour and right in front of us?
Do you know what, Jack? Look, I think with us Spurs fans, we've been promised, we've been made promises that haven't been kept. We've been disappointed, let down, over the years. And I can understand people not willing to put their trust into Paratici. They want to see action. They want to see results first before they kind of get into that. And I get it. I totally get it. Look, I mean, we all want to win trophies. We hate seeing Liverpool win them. We hate seeing Arsenal pick up the odd FA Cup. We used to be the record holders and that. Now they are. It pisses us off. But a lot of this skepticism towards Paratici comes from a place of being deeply hurt, being let down, no matter who we've brought in that director of football role in charge of transfers, because we've had loads of people down the years. They've been ultimately hurt, let down, and left disappointed and underwhelmed. So Paratici coming in here was always going to have a massive job to do, along with Conte, picking this Spurs fan base up and getting them behind him. Now, look, me, Jack, we've had a hard 2-3 years of a couple of seasons. For me, I'm fully invested in this Conte Paratici model. I've gone for it. I'm balls deep in it. But what I will say is, I think over time, I think he makes the correct signings this summer. We see progression this year. I think then people will start to believe in Paratici. Look, they've already believed in Conte, but I think once the signings come in and help keep improving, because you have to remember, he's here one season. This will be his third window, but just minus this one, count 2 windows. He's already jumped us from 8th to 4th. If we can take that leap and go for a title challenge for most of the season, go deep in the cups, maybe get to a final, have a good Champions League campaign, I think a lot more people will actually get behind Paratici and believe in what he's doing. They just want to see the results first. Look, every fan is different, but I believe the fans that don't really want to call him a don or are not fully 100% invested. They're still skeptical. They're like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? I get it. Being so hurt. But I think once the results on the pitch start changing, I think you will see them get behind.
Well, but Dave, maybe like us, Dave, we love to jump the gun. I love to play devil's advocate here because you and I love to show Paratici the love. And I know we're going to get, maybe someone who's on a different, end of the, the spectrum when it comes to Paratici, practically someone who isn't, part of the Paratici PR team like David and I. David and I are on the Paratici PR team, if you couldn't tell by now.
Yeah.
But Dave, I just want to ask, will people show, let's say he does get that right wing back done. Let's say he gets that center back done before we set off Korea. Not saying he won't, not saying he doesn't. But let's say he gets those done. Will maybe people show him a bit of the respect maybe he deserved?
Again, I think you'll have to wait till the end of the season for people to say. Yeah, I do believe that because look, even during the season, you're going to someone might come in, take a couple of games to adapt. Straight away, that sign will be, written off. We've done it with Kulusevski. We've done it with Bentancur.
Yeah, that's right. The Kulusevski signing
a lot of signings will be written off until they've proved otherwise, and I get that. But for me, I can get you being skeptical. But let's also recognize the good work he's done. Yes, look, Nuno happened, Emerson, Gale, people like that, Papa Matar. And I get people label that to him. But let's also give him credit for changing our ways in the transfer window, bringing in quality over quantity in the January transfer window. Them 2 signings completely changed our season. got us to top 4, got us Champions League, which many fans wanted, and which is the remit which has been set by the board for Pochettino, for Jose Mourinho, and for Nuno, and ultimately why they all got sacked. Conte done that along with the Paratici signings. Romero, once he came back from injury and got a good run in the team, was also crucial at the back. If we didn't sign him last summer, we wouldn't be nowhere near top 4 because that defense would still keep making the same mistakes that we've seen them do previously. Then you look at this window. We've brought in 3 players already, which we're not used to. We're used to sitting here, maybe getting a few as the season starts, sitting there deadline day, getting no one and be disappointed. But Paratici has also all got to work. But we also have to remember, this guy's had to rebuild the scouting department. We've seen how bad it was. Steve Hitchen was
just hired like 6 guys, Dave. He just hired like 6 guys.
Steve Hitchen we spent $300 million and was bringing in bum of players that never hit the ground running, never brought us to the level that we were going to. In fact, the standard of players he was bringing in here, the quality on the pitch was declining, and so was our league position. So with Paratici, he single-handedly changed that as well, Jack. He's got us back up the league. But look, I say to people, give this guy a chance. Every fan asked for Daniel Levy to hand over the reins. To hand over the reins to someone on the footballing side that knows what they're doing. He's done that, and now we're sitting here skeptical of the guy. But they've done what we wanted them to do. And for me, you cannot deny the quality of the players this guy is bringing in here. Basuma wouldn't have happened under Steve Hitchen. Perisic definitely wouldn't have happened under Steve Hitchen. He would have gone out and got the latest Pradas for his business to update the last one when he was supposed to get Skriniar. So for me, none of this what's going on right now. And look, we also have to remember, yes, you can target Paratici with Nuno, Jack. But he tried Conte first. Conte did not want to come to Tottenham. So we ended up with someone like Nuno. But and I said this at the time, and nobody wants to talk about this. There were no major candidates interested in this job because there was no backing guaranteed. The squad was in decline. The players had thrown so many managers under the bus. That's why you were seeing Fonseca leaked. That's why you were seeing Nuno linked. Because managers speak. Someone would have rang Pochettino. Someone would have rang Jose Mourinho. Someone would have got in contact with them. What's going on at Tottenham? Do not go there. The players have the power. Daniel Levy doesn't want to back you. He gives the players the powers by not backing you, and they will throw you under the bus. They'll go to German behind your back, and they'll get you sacked. That's why we were stuck with someone like Nuno. That's why Fonseca and names like that were mentioned. Nobody wants to speak about that. The poison chalice that was at the time. Look, we brought in Nuno. It didn't work. Okay, we get that. You can label that a Paratici, but also give him the credit for how quick he cut that to get Conte in here. The fact that we refused to sell Harry Kane, and Conte said this was a major reason why he signed on that dotted line in the first place, because he was impressed that we were able to keep Harry Kane. Paratici has come in. Yes, he's done some things that maybe aren't so great, but he's come in and he has took this club to a new level in terms of bringing in the manager, in terms of the quality of the players we're bringing in. And all that while building a scouting department, which will hopefully help us in the future by bringing in younger players. And every club is going to do that. I wouldn't be surprised to see another 1 or 2 this window. Man City has done it with Alvarez. Liverpool have done it with Carvalho. Teams will always have one eye on the future to save themselves money in the long run, hoping they have the next superstar coming through in that position. Yes, Paratici maybe has done some dodgy stuff, but at the end of the day, his good far outweighs the bad. And for me, I'm 100% behind it. I get the skepticism. I get the hurt. But let's be truthful to yourself. He has done a good job since he's come in here. This was a ship this was the Titanic. This was a ship that was falling apart, that nobody wanted to be a part of. Our best players wanted out. And this guy has come and glued it all together. And not only that, once he's glued it together and kept it from sinking, he's fucked it off and he's gone and got a new shape.
Paratici's PR team at work here, everybody. You just
I want to add to this. I want to add to this,
Jack. PR team. I'm going to give you a good question here, Danny. Don't you worry. I just want to say, we've had streams, made entirely about, our praise of the Don. We've had, everything, be about our praise of the Don. If you want any Paratici PR, you can just get it from the man right here, just like I'm pointing towards.
Not only that,
from the Paratici
before you do, go on, Dave.
Just one more thing to add, Danny. I'll be very, very quick.
Yeah, go. I'm enjoying it. Go on.
Do you know the way you get a bun, Danny? There's icing on it, but sometimes they just put that cherry on top. Well, this is the moment, my man. And for me, I think you look at the signings. Now, I've gone back through the windows. You will not see it for a decade. Yes, individually, we've brought in a Son, we've brought in this, but they've been followed up by Nkudu and G. Absolute shit like that. Name me a period where we have had 6 signings back-to-back of absolute quality. Romero, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Perisic, Fraser Forster.
It's usually more spread out.
Name me a time where you have seen back-to-back quality coming in the door like that. You haven't. Not even under
And also, and this is where I think, Danny, I have a perfect question for you to come in. And, you don't even have to take this question seriously, but I think it'd be a good way to warm you up. You've heard of, hot girl summer. You've heard of hot guy summer. But now I think this is the summer where dons are made. This is hot don summer, I feel like, Danny. This is the summer where Paratici is going to earn his Don title. If he hasn't already earned his Don title, this is where people are really going to judge him, is this summer. So this is the summer where dons are made.
Well, look, to be honest with you, like Dave said, right, it's hard to kind of say more about how Paratici's work, because I know you guys like to call him the Don, and I won't call him the Don just yet, right? But
he's paying us for the PR.
No, it's true. What we have seen, like you said, Dave, what we have seen from Paratici is that why I think the biggest thing he did was get Antonio Conte in, because without Antonio Conte, I think half the players in this squad might not even stayed, might not even been here. Romero, Kane probably wouldn't want to be here if there's no actual person that's going to actually motivate him to stay at the club. Kane definitely wouldn't have been here, right? He would have wanted to leave this summer, I guarantee it, if Conte wasn't here. So, look, not everyone's human, right? Everyone makes mistakes. No one's perfect. Paratici's the same. He's not perfect, right? He's made some mistakes, and you could say he spent money where maybe we shouldn't have spent money and should have spent it elsewhere. Like the Brian Hill, like we didn't really have to do that. People would have maybe argued that Lamela would have been a good option for us this season. He actually could have been a decent option for us, right? Even though some people would have said everyone wanted him gone, and most people wanted him gone because it was time and stuff, but he actually might have offered Conte something that he would have liked. So again, 26 million euros is a lot of money to waste when you need to improve your key areas in your squad, right? But like Dave said, what he's done is he's brought in Romero. He's with Conte. He's brought in the Kulusevski. He's brought in Bentancur. He's brought in Basuma, and he's brought in Perisic. He's brought in Fraser Forster, who's a decent option. Now, if the window keeps going with like RICHARLISON, and we get maybe another 4, 5, 6 players coming in, right, of a good level, then he's going to start earning that. But for me, when I feel when he earns it is when Conte earns it. When
this is the summer he earns it. This is the summer he earns it.
Well, look, Conte's a Don in the sense that he's an elite manager, right? He already
was a Don coming in. He was a Don coming in.
I think for Paratici, it kind of he works in tandem with Conte, because if Conte performs, then obviously it makes him look good as well. If Conte underperforms, it makes him look bad, because he obviously is one of the key driving forces in helping bringing the players in. But they work together, because if Conte doesn't want a player, Paratici will say to Paratici, "No, I don't want him." Right, so people have to remember that it's not all Paratici that's driving the transfer.
He seems easy to work with, though. Paratici, he seems to be easy to work with.
I think they've got a good working relationship, Jack. I think they got a good working relationship. They both sat down, they agree their targets, they have their first, second, and third choices, and then they're probably just talking every day as well. Like, if we can't do this, who would you want, or this or that, or
they have their smoke screen set out,
exactly. So I think that he, for me, I've always said he could potentially be one of the best directors of football we had at the club. He's not there yet, but he's growing in his status. For me, he's definitely growing because of what he's been able to do with Conte, and even before without Conte. Right. My only thing is with not in terms of Paratici, but with, say for example, we get a Longley in, we get a Longley, we get a Jed Spence in, right? If that's the only right wing back we go for, I'd be a bit skeptical about it, because I don't know whether that's.
I think a lot of us would be.
Because we can't sit here, all of us, and say that Antonio Conte sat down with Paratici at the end of the season and says, "Do you know what? I want Jed Spence as my right wing back, right? To challenge for top 4, challenge in the Champions League, challenge for the Premier League." It's just not going to happen.
Never know. Right? Maybe he's an avid Championship fan, but yeah, you're right.
but you know what I mean, right? It'd probably be more like a Singo, or more like someone who's from abroad, who's got a bit more, you'd say, experience at a higher level, because the championship is a strong level, but it's not like the Serie A. It's not like the Premier League. It's not like the Spanish league, for example. So where my kind of thing is that I'm hoping that we get more players than we expect to get in, if that makes sense. Because
I think that's a really good point, Danny. That's a really good point. Dave, I was just gonna. Yeah, sorry, Dave, you're gonna make a point, but I had a good question for you.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just gonna add quickly on that. We've forgotten about the players he's got rid of. Let's not forget.
That's a good point. Yeah,
he's been ruthless.
We were having that idiot Sissoko running around midfield, and the ball was bouncing off him like you're kicking it off a concrete wall. Couldn't control it, couldn't pass it, and every shot he took went into the fucking stands. You know, Aurier ripped up his contract. He's like, okay, you want to keep costing us? You want
literally ripped
it up, you're gone. Bon voyage, go and find yourself a new club. The players he's got out to knock down the house and rebuild it.
Dele Alli.
We're sitting here today talking about Kulusevski, Basuma, Bentancur. You know, before we were sitting there talking about Harry fucking Winks. You know, how we can get the best out of Lucas Moura, Bergwijn, you know, shit like that. We're not speaking about that shit anymore. We're speaking about the real deal sort of players. The crap Steve Hitchen brought in, he's tossing out, and he's bringing in the real deal. And for me, that's all you want from your director of football. You want an improvement. Paratici couldn't go to Italy and get deals, or Steve Hitchen could not go to Italy and get deals done. Paratici can. Stand up. Paratici, at the end of the day, he's to work under Levy, the same regime that Steve Hitchen does, that people give him a free pass for. But Paratici can do it. You also look at the summer budget. Not massive, but he still got in the Italian Defender of the Year without paying a penny, who got us Champions League football, and we only have to pay for it this season. It's how you work the budget. Paratici can do that.
How you work what's in front of you. And, speaking of Steve Hitchen, I have a good follow-up question for you, Dave, but, I might answer it a little bit, for you to maybe catch your breath here. The question really is, what if Steve Hitchen actually were in charge right now? Let's say we had never hired Paratici. Maybe Conte were still the manager. If we're going to be honest, if Steve Hitchen were the director of football, we wouldn't have Antonio Conte as manager. Let's get that, clear. But let's say, hypothetical scenario, Steve Hitchen is the director of football right now. Would we be treating Steve Hitchen with the same sort of scrutiny that we have been, Paratici? I kind of like to think not, because the big point here is, being made is that Conte wants his signings before, he sets off for Korea, before he sets off for the preseason games. We've been setting Paratici this deadline list. And in fact, what I kind of like about Paratici is that everyone holds him to an incredibly high standard by the looks of it. People are expecting Paratici to be getting attackers signed. They're expecting him to get center backs, right wing back signed before even 2-3 weeks of the transfer window even, ends. We're expecting him to get the majority of his signings done. And we're also expecting him to get some of the most difficult outgoings done in the entire summer. Tanguy Ndombele, probably the hardest person to sell to any club in the world. Honestly, it'd be like selling a pen to a pen factory, sort of kind of player. In the case of, GLC, it's just, I don't know, we just don't rate him, Dave. So good luck to him, trying to convince people, to try to buy GLC. Harry Winks, I know people have love for this guy, but if you've watched him play football, again, a good luck to you for trying to sell that guy as a professional footballer. I'd wish the best of luck to you. Some of the players that he even has to sell this summer are not going to be easy. Some of the players that he has to bring in before 3 weeks of the transfer window have even ended are not going to be easy. On top of that, he has to also get in the likes of these new people that he's brought into the club to improve the likes of the methodology, to improve the likes of the scouting department, to improve the likes of, his second-hand man with Gretar Steinson. When you look at it, Paratici has almost given himself a lot to do this summer. He already had a lot to do this summer, but he's almost given himself a lot to do this summer. And by the looks of it, at least under my impressions, so far so good. And if he does get to the end of, if we get to the Korea preseason and we have a right wing back and we have a center back, and let's say we have RICHARLISON as well, honestly, that guy will have achieved a whole lot more than I ever would have anticipated Steve Hitchen would have if we were only 3 weeks into the transfer window. And again, let me stress that you're 3 weeks into the transfer window. Would you expect Steve Hitchen to have signed 6 players by the beginning of the preseason? You would have assigned him. You probably would have expected him to sign 1, 2, maybe, I don't know, 3 players. That would be the most. But what's interesting to me, Dave, is that maybe it's because Paratici came with all the hype. Maybe it's because we're his professional PR team. I'm not really sure. But what it looks like is that maybe one director of football was held to a very different standard, a very different level of scrutiny, while another one is being held to an entirely higher level of scrutiny. Yeah. And to be fair, Dave, fair play, because Paratici has met that level of scrutiny and he has continued to meet those expectations, while I think a certain someone in the past by name of Steve Hitchen, at least in my eyes, would never have been held to that sort of level, would never have been held to that sort of scrutiny, and would have, if he were the manager, director of football right now, would already be, I don't know, quitting his job or maybe at a McDonald's now, look, maybe crying his eyes out.
Look, Jack, when it comes to Steve Hitchen, simple, is Paratici judged the same way or held to the same standards was Steve Hitchen held to the same standards Paratici is? No. With Steve Hitchen, everybody, and I mean everybody's guilty of this, even myself at times.
We forgot Steve Hitchen was even the director of football at times. It's
Hitchen's fault. Not Steve Hitchen's fault. It's Daniel Levy's fault. He has to work under Daniel Levy, etc., etc., etc. Now Paratici's come in. All of a sudden, Daniel Levy's disappeared in a puff of smoke. People hold Paratici to a much higher standard than what they ever did Steve Hitchen. In fact, they made excuses for Steve Hitchen, who, I mean, after what Paul Mitchell was building with
250 million, 300 million.
He brought this club backwards. He brought it backwards. There's no denying it. Look at the standard players he brought in.
Look at the stream we did on Thursday, Dave. Look how many Reds. Look how many Reds we had on Thursday.
I have to defend Steve Hitchen a little bit because it wasn't all Steve Hitchen's fault. It was Daniel Levy was the one who was doing.
But doesn't Paratici also have Daniel Levy? Hold on. Doesn't he also have? They have the same owner. They have the same. No.
It's not the same. It's not the same. The difference between the two. No, it's not, because the difference between the two, it's not, Dave. I'll tell you why.
Same conditions. They have the same
hold on. Let me say it. Right? Hold on. Let me say it. The difference between the two is that Paratici's got more credit in the bank in terms of, because he's done it at a bigger club, because he's more trusted, right? Yeah, but the thing is, right, he didn't obviously trust Steve Hitchen. But the problem is, we saw many times, even Alistair Gold said it himself, that a lot of the times when Steve Hitchen had the deals arranged, for Skriniar, for example, Daniel Levy tried to negotiate the deal because...
Yeah, but Danny...
hold on. The difference is, right, from what I see, it's Paratici is the one who negotiates the deals now. He gets everything ready for Daniel Levy to sign on the dotted line. The difference between when Steve Hitchen was doing it was Steve Hitchen was doing the kind of groundwork, then Daniel Levy would be doing the negotiations. And because Daniel Levy's Daniel Levy, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing when it comes to being
I'll be honest, Danny.
I'd agree with you, Danny, but why was it that Steve Hitchen was given more responsibilities than Paratici was? Paratici actually has fewer responsibilities than Steve Hitchen.
One second. I disagree with you, Danny. At the end of the day, it's still the same old Daniel Levy. It's not his brother. We all sat here making excuses. It's because he works under Daniel Levy. At the end of the day, he was probably set a budget. He went out to Milan and he came back with something 20 million over that budget. Paratici goes out for Romero, comes back with Romero without spending
Dave, it was clearly stated. It was clear. Go on.
He didn't have the budget to work with, but he still came back with Romero. Steve Hitchen failed. He failed on nearly every big transfer with this football club. Paratici, let's stop dressing this up. He's still working under Daniel Levy. He is still working on
different now.
With Paratici, it's not, Danny. It's the same.
But then you're saying Daniel Levy's changed. But then you're saying Daniel Levy's changed.
No. I'm saying.
Let me finish. It hasn't changed. It has not changed. It's the same Daniel Levy. It's the same. They're not different people. It's the same thing. It's the same people he's working under. Let's not dress this up to pretend to be something it's not. Look. Paratici has done it to himself with the signings he's come in and he's made and the improvements he's made. That's why he's held to that standard, and that's why people analyze everything he does. But let's not get this mixed up. Unless Daniel Levy sold the club to his brother and ENIC moved on and there's someone else in there, it's the same people he's working under. Let's not make excuses for Steve Hitchen. Let's not pretend it's not Daniel Levy and ENIC he's working under. He is. The ownership has not changed.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is...
At the same time, when it comes to us not getting players, people will also fall back and go, it's the same old Daniel Levy. So how can it be both? He is still working under the same people.
Yeah, but because what's happened is when Paratici came in, right? Paratici has been given more control than Steve Hitchen had, right? Steve Hitchen was never going to have that kind of control that Paratici has. Paratici, the reason why it's working is because Daniel Levy has relinquished some of that control, right? That he used to. Daniel Levy was one he wanted to have full control over everything, right? So you even could see it. Even the Ali Gold even said it for the Bruno Fernandes deal and the Skriniar deal that it was Daniel Levy who did the negotiations when he went over when Hitchen went over to Milan to speak to Skriniar, speak to the director of football over there to try and get the deal in place. He kind of did the foundation, the groundwork. Daniel Levy did the negotiation, and he didn't want to pay the money that they were willing to pay. Right? I get it. Paratici is a better negotiator, right? He could do better deals. We know this. He's a better director of football. I'm not denying that. All I'm saying is that you can't fully blame Steve Hitchen, right? Even though I didn't like him at all, I wanted him gone as well. That's all I'm saying is that he wasn't fully to blame. And what's happened now is because of how good Paratici has done a job with Morata at Juventus, right? That he can trust him more to go and get better deals, right? Because if you actually look at the quotes from Daniel Levy and Alistair Gold when Paratici first joined the club, one of the things that he said Daniel Levy, in his words, why he loved Paratici was because that he's a tough negotiator, and that is exactly what Daniel Levy wants, because Daniel Levy is like that. The difference between Daniel Levy and Paratici is that Paratici knows the football world. Daniel Levy doesn't. That is why he can negotiate better in the football world than Daniel Levy could, and that's why. Because Paratici is also a better negotiator than Steve Hitchen is. Steve Hitchen was a rookie negotiator, right? In terms of what Paratici can do. And that's why I say we can't put all the blame on Steve Hitchen, because Daniel Levy didn't want to give him that control that he's giving Paratici. Because if Daniel Levy was the same Daniel Levy, I'm not saying he's changed, right? Or he's completely changed, but if it was the same Daniel Levy, there's no way we'd be signing RICHARLISON. There's no way we'd be signing Romero. We wouldn't be signing these £50 million players all the time. But it's because he trusts him to go and get quality players.
Yeah, and also the middle ground argument, though. That's the middle ground argument. It's Daniel Levy trusts him.
Hold on,
Zach. He didn't trust.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But it's also the fact that the way the deals are being structured right now is that they're structured over a longer term, and the deals are better financially for Spurs, which is why Paratici is doing a far, far better job, because number one, he's a better director of football, and number two, he negotiates deals better financially and in terms of bringing better players in, right? And he's also the fact that he's got so many more contacts, and his network is far greater reach. I think that's what makes the biggest difference. But all I was trying to say was,
he can swing his. He can.
Steve Hitchen was shit. We know he was shit.
He had more power than Pochettino, though. He had more power than Pochettino.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Call me a coach. I'm not a manager. Steve Hitchen was in charge of identifying the talent and bringing them in here. And at the end of the day, he came in under, I think it was Paul Mitchell. I think he ended up getting a bit of a promotion once he left. Yep. But he was in charge of identifying the talent and bringing in here. And to give him an excuse for the talent he identified with his own bloody eyes, by the way, nobody else's, his own eyes, and to give him that excuse when that talent was not good enough for Tottenham Hotspur, for me, is a total load of absolute bullcrap.
Yeah. I was going to add...
You're giving him an excuse for his lack of quality players he brought in here. At the end of the day, him and Paratici have both been put out there to identify the players. Yes, Paratici probably has a bit more power, but at the end of the day, he still has to go back to Daniel Levy and get him to sign the dotted lines. So it's the exact same thing. Steve Hitchen had to go out and negotiate deals, could not do it, and Daniel Levy didn't sign
it's not
off.
The same thing. It's not the same
goes off and negotiates deals. Romero didn't pay for until this season, till we had the money. Kulusevski haven't paid for yet, brought in on loan. Bentancur brought in for less than 20 million. Paratici is a much better operator than Steve Hitchen
Oh yeah, no,
could
definitely.
ever dream of being.
Definitely. No,
That's why
I don't disagree.
That's why people probably hold him to a lot higher standard. But let's not sit here and pretend he still doesn't have to work under Enoch and Levy, because he does. And if you're saying he doesn't, I disagree with you, and I think you're just trying to make excuses for Steve Hitchen. In my opinion, there's no excuses. He was in charge of identifying the talent.
I'm not making excuses for Steve Hitchen at all. That's not what I'm saying, Dave. What I said, what you literally heard what I said was the fact that it wasn't all his fault. I'm saying that there's more trust to Paratici than there is to Steve Hitchen, right? Steve Hitchen was not a good director of football. He just wasn't. He was never meant to be a director of football, right? He got put into that position out of him just being there for a long time, and that they didn't want to go, and Tottenham had no plan. That's exactly why, because Daniel Levy had other plans, and Daniel Levy, we all know that he's a fucking shit negotiator in the football world, right? But yeah, I'm just saying that
middle ground argument here.
Yeah,
middle ground
argument.
Middle ground argument here. This is the only thing I've been trying to bring up. Is a bit of a middle ground argument between the two, and I'm on Dave's side. But no, what I wanted to maybe sort of bring up was Dave, like Danny's huge point, Dave, is I think Danny mostly conceded everything to you, but the part that he's trying to point out here, that Danny is trying to point out, is that one was trusted more than the other. But I think maybe what's being missed out on here is perhaps Steve Hitchen lost the trust with Daniel Levy because he wasted 250 to 300 million, and maybe Paratici, like you said, Danny, maybe Paratici came in with the trust because he looked at his resume, he hired the guy, for Christ's sake, so obviously he trusted the guy.
Well, apparently he was tracking him for 5 years. When it comes to
Steve Hitchen was given a huge promotion from the Paul Mitchell days, a huge promotion, and in fact actually had more job title responsibilities than even Paratici does. I'm not sure if they were paid the same, but at the end of the day, like Steve Hitchen, people like to say, oh, he was just a scout. He wasn't. He was the head of scouting. He was the head of methodology. He was the head of, the director of football. He was the sporting director. He was basically the head of everything. And in fact, Paratici only really has one role, which is sporting director. That's like his real role. There's really nothing else. And in fact, Steve Hitchen had actually more responsibilities. Whether he was actually putting his hands in all those pots at once, I'm not sure, because clearly he wasn't, because nothing was happening in those areas.
Because he couldn't do.
But what I'm trying to say here, Danny, is you said Paratici has more trust with Levy. I think that he did because he has the reputation, and Danny looked him up. Daniel Levy did his research, saw that he likes Paratici. I actually would say Steve Hitchen had trust with Daniel Levy. It's just he lost trust with Daniel Levy because the money that Daniel Levy did give him, whether you think it was stingy money, whether you think it was like no money at all, it's still 250 million to 300 million that you have to account for at the end of the day. And that's what I'm saying, is that he lost the trust. He lost the
Jack,
trust.
the biggest example of that is Ndombele. He's the biggest example of a bad signing, because
that's when he loses trust with that's when he loses trust with Daniel Levy.
and Gio Lo Celso, because
and a Doherty and a Joe Rodon, and you could go further.
But I know still it is partly Levy's fault on that behalf, because he didn't want to shell out the money that, for example, we went in for Bruno Fernandes. They didn't want to pay the money for him, so they went for the cheaper option, which was Lo Celso, even though he was ridiculously expensive. The one signing, the key one they made, was the Ndombele, but they didn't do their due diligence and the actual proper scouting of his mentality, how he is, the type of person he is. Because if they did that, like say maybe the scouting team Paratici has in place, then maybe we wouldn't have signed him in the first place. Because you can see now the type of player they want to sign it's a player with a certain type of mentality. So you can see the difference in how the scouting network is within Tottenham now, in terms of the type of player they want to bring in. And I think that's where you can see the levels between Paul Mitchell, Steve Hitchen, which is down here, and then a Paratici, which is up there. Because like Dave said earlier on, that the players that we're bringing in now, it's like you've got your Pasumas, your Perisic's, your Romero's, your Kulusevski's. These are all top players. Like these are all top players compared to your Nkudu's or whoever else they usually used to bring in, or Joe Rodon's. And I mean that's poor scouting, to be honest with you. So yeah, you can definitely see the difference. For sure.
what I will
And
say,
also, I think you've hit 7K. I think you've hit 7K, guys. So
I just
well done.
1 second. I'll just check. I think we
you've
were
hit
one off
7K.
last
We
time.
have hit 7K, Dave. It's hit
Before
the
we
big
celebrate
7.
7K, just give me 1 second. I do want to say just quickly, yeah, we have reached 7K, but I will celebrate in 1 second. Just quickly, because everyone knows I feel passionate on this one. I can't give Hitch an excuse for pissing 300 million up the wall. Look, at the end of the day, he was trusted because he was promoted after Paul Mitchell. There was his trust. Daniel Levy seen the money spent bad. He seen this club declining and then ended up taking the promotion off Paratici or off Steve Hitchen, demoting him to Paratici Steve Hitch, and brought Paratici in to do a job that Steve Hitchen ultimately failed at. The scouting department apparently is one of the worst that Paratici has seen. It's so old-fashioned, it's unbelievable. Steve Hitchen took his eyes off the ball. He couldn't deal with absolutely everything it was given. He was in charge of trying to improve the scouting. He was in charge of bringing in players. He was in charge of going over and negotiating a deal and coming back to get Daniel Levy to sign it off. And I think the nuts and bolts to giving your answer, Jack, I think the reason why Paratici is held to a higher standard simply is because of his reputation, of the players that he's already, of the players that he's brought in here, the improvements he's already made. So it's probably his own fault that he is held to a higher standard because of this.
It's his own making.
The short-term success he's had from getting us from Europa Conference League back to Champions League by bringing in Conte and the players. But look, everybody knows I've had this debate with so many people with Steve Hitchen. Me personally, I can't give him the excuses because Paratici are working under the city. Yes, give him more responsibilities, but he's still working under the same regime. And at the end of the day, if they don't like the deal, they can still say no, like they've done to Steve Hitchen. The difference is they don't. Maybe, again, that's probably to do with more pressure from the fan base. We're expecting a lot more, 100%. There's a lot of different factors to it. I just can't give Steve Hitchen a free pass for pissing up 300 million at the end of the day.
No one gives him a free pass. I don't even give him. I was one of the ones who wanted him fucking gone. Do you remember I used to come on your streams all the time? I used to fucking say how shit he was.
Streams with us asking for him to be gone.
I used to always say how shit he was. I didn't.
RAI, Dave. RAI was the first one to notice, I believe, the 7K. By the looks of it, from what I caught, he was the first one to notice. Big up RAI, absolute legend. Dave, we've surpassed 7K. It was sort of the summer goal. I mean, the summer has, I guess, just gotten started. We're going to have to maybe set up a new goal, or maybe not even set up a goal at all. Just, maybe just congratulate the Harris Army and the IrishHotspur Army on, getting us to the goal this quickly. But honestly, everybody, like I just put in the chat there, everybody, you all are absolute legends, and we do appreciate the continued support. We've had well over 500 in the house continually throughout this stream, and people have been putting in their comments, people have been dropping the like button. I think we also hit over 500 likes as well, Dave. The Harris Army, the power of it is incredible. And I must say, Dave, while you were gone as well, people were really showing a lot of support over the weekend. They were continuing to put in their comments, continuing to show up on stream, and I do really appreciate you guys showing me the support over this weekend as well while David was gone. Honestly, Dave, really appreciate it, and I think we're just I'm just thanking them, absolutely thanking them.
Yeah, look, I've made it clear from day one. I mean, look, this channel is absolutely nothing without the supporters of the channel, the fans that come on and contribute, the fans that help support the channel, plug it, share it, like it, subscribe to it. It's absolutely nothing without you guys out there. And look, from my position, a guy that I thought no one would ever want to listen to my opinions, a fat, ugly prick, who basically, I didn't think anybody would like to listen to me. And to sit here today with over 7K, I mean, it overwhelms me at times. But, at the end of the day, I'm absolutely grateful for every single one of you out there. You're helping me follow a dream and live a dream. So a massive thank you. And 7K is this milestone. Let's try and make it to 10K before the end of the season. But everyone, I want to say a massive thank you to you out there, because this is not possible without you guys, without the fans, without the contributions. So big up Spurs fans worldwide. Everybody, thank you so much. You're so valued.
Love you, Harris Army. Robert Palmer here with a super chat saying, love the RICHARLISON signing. Want Gordon to play right wing, left wing, right wing back, left wing back, and Cam. Eriksson next. Spence, Bastoni, and August will challenge and pick up a cup 100%. I'm going to have to spoil, a bit of, your party here, Robert. I don't think Eriksson is happening, my man. And honestly, Bastoni isn't happening by the looks of it as well. I can guarantee you that, Spence probably is happening. And then Gordon is also not happening. So Robert, I don't know, my man, maybe you were just probably popping open the champagne the moment, I've just read this aloud, and now you're just, probably screaming at me, through the phone. But yeah, majority of those signings aren't happening. But I must say, Robert, this is going to be a good question for a debate panel next time when we go live. But would you accept top 4 plus like a Carabao Cup, an FA Cup, something like that? Is that a successful season for you? Would you be okay if Spurs, continue to get top 4 and then, maybe shut out the scum from getting it and then grabbed a trophy on top of that? For me personally, I think that'd be a pretty successful season. I do want us to challenge for cups. I want us to challenge for trophies. And I'm glad that you left the Richarlison signing. Big up, Robert.
Just quickly, I think winning a cup is, the ultimate. I think that's a successful season. Anything other than that is an improvement.
Love that, Robert. Absolutely love it. DG saying, so tell me, how do we do a marquee signing now that we paid what we did for Richarlison? Piggy bank is getting low. If you want 3 more players, DG, I think you're thinking in a Spurs budget, my man. You're thinking 100 million. You're thinking 120. Like, there was an original transfer budget, I would imagine, of 100, 120. That was probably the original transfer budget to begin with. They have put 150 million on top of that original transfer budget available in case they need extra funds. Think about it, DG. It's like, just when you thought, maybe you're setting up a big party, maybe you had an original budget planned. Turns out you needed more money. There's an extra piggy bank available that you could draw from. It's almost like, an extra, sort of kind of cushion funds, you could say. You could think of the 150 million. It's almost kind of 150 millions of cushions, available to Spurs, to be able to price negotiate, to be able to bully people in negotiations. That's the way I see it. I don't see 150 million is our dead on budget. We're not able to go above 150. I see 150 as being straight on 150 million cash available right now to Spurs to be able to, wow some clubs over in case they need to, get a player through the door. I will be honest, EG, I've said this before. I wouldn't be surprised if we spend well over 150 million, if not close to 200 million. I expect us to spend close to 200 million. Maybe not above 200, but in between 150 and 200. Hate to blow your socks off there. Maybe I'm just going delusional mode here, but DG, there you are, brother. Hopefully you get excited about that with my answer, my man. Big up. Appreciate support as well. Yeah,
look, and I think
he says, "Oh, okay, Dave." He seems, maybe it's a lot more than he expected. I don't know. Maybe he's disappointed, with the Eriksen rumors. I'm not sure.
Look, I think when it comes to signings in, how do we get do a marquee signing now that we paid what we do for Richarlison? And the piggy bank is getting low. Look, we are relying on trying to get players out, but look, it's proven a lot more difficult than what we first thought. Look, we can all sit here and slap 20 million on Winks, another 50 million on Endo Belly. But you also have to understand, with the way football has gone over the last couple of years with fuck all revenue coming in, etc., clubs are going to be a lot more stringent, or you would hope they are, on what they're actually spending their money on. And that's why I think we're suffering to sell our players. But we know that they're crap. We know that their attitudes are not good. We know there's a reason why we're trying to get rid of them, because they were part of the decline of this great club. They were fucking driving fans away in their droves the way they were playing. And look, for me, I do think another marquee signing probably does depend on us maybe selling a couple of players. But look, Paratici has structured deals before. Romero, Kulusevski, maybe he can pull another rabbit out of the hat. Let's wait and see. But our transfer window is definitely not done yet, DG. I still think there's still some sort of money available. So let's go and get some more deals done.
Last one here.
I think we can sign players for. Sorry, go on, Jack.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I was going to say, mate. I actually think we can go and spend money, because I know they've withdrawn their 100 million, right? So now they can basically use that money right now if they wanted to. but that extra 50 million has to be withdrawn by the end of the year. So they have to spend that, otherwise it goes. They don't get to use it. So from the only reason they've withdrawn the 100 million right now is because it looks like they're going to go and sign 1 or 2 players, which is going to use majority of that money, right? So unless they've got something in the pipeline that none of us know, because you've got to remember that Basuma came out of nowhere. Like he was a player that instantly it was like that. It was bang. None of us knew it. None of the ITKs knew it. No one knew it, right? So I reckon there's going to be 1 or 2 players that we're going to get over the summer that are going to be like that. But that extra 50 million can be used and probably will be used if necessary. And I think we're going to see some deals later on in the summer as well. Once we've got the kind of minimum 6 in, I think we're going to see some deals that are going to surprise people. So I do think we're going to spend that money. I think we're going to spend, like you said, Jack, 200 million. That's maybe with players going out as well, so money coming into the club, because obviously if we've only got we've only got 150 million there, right, from the club, then obviously the other moves we will get players based on who goes out the door, I think. So I think we could go up to 200.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's going to be in between 150 and 200. By the looks. Sorry, we had actually skipped a super chat there from Bobby K saying, David, you're awesome, beautiful inside and out, Dave. You're beautiful inside and out, Dave, Bobby K. And that's not coming from little K. So, yeah, he does mean it. If little K sent that, Dave, I'd probably be all over the room, because anything little K says to you, you truly can, take, seriously. But
yeah, no, look, I appreciate it. Look, I just struggle, sometimes with the love that people give me. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it. So, look, big up, Bobby.
And then Kuva99 saying, I don't always agree with your rants, David, but I enjoy them and love that you take your own path, never change. Big up, my man. Kuva, you couldn't have summarized, Dave's ethos any better. Big up, Kuva. Love you, brother.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Kuva, at the end of the day, it'd be a boring world if we all agreed. What makes this so exciting, what makes this enjoyable, is that everybody has different opinions. People don't see eye to eye on stuff. You can debate it, you can talk it out. Look, with me, I'm just very passionate with what I believe in. Like, with what I believe is right. And look, I know that's wrong, and don't get me wrong, I'm open to other people's opinions. I learn off the likes of you, Kuva. We are Tottenham TV, Daigle, Bob Spur, Danny, Sean, Jack. I learn so much off all the streamers going. I do take other people's opinions going on. I listen to them, and then I form my own. And then after that, Kuva, there's no taking me back. I'm on my path. I'm not even on a pedal bike. I'm on a motorcycle, and I'm gone, Kuva. There's no catch me, my man. And look, sometimes it can come across wrong, angry, fucking dickheady or whatever. It's not. I'm just passionate with my points, and that's all it is. But Kuva, like I said, it'd be boring if we all agreed, my man. So I'm glad that people disagree with me. I'm glad that people challenge me. I'm glad people put me in my place. Because look, it's football. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody sees it through a different lens, and that's what it's about at the end of the day. Big up, Kuva.
There you are, everybody. And Kuva, love that and really do appreciate support, brother. And you couldn't have summarized David any better. But we are reaching the end of the show. We just end, kind of the last question there. And we are going to show Danny a bit of love here, who has put in an excellent shift, just like Adam did earlier. Danny has stuck with us this whole time, and it stood up to Dave, it stood up to me in terms of our Paratici PR. He stood up to us in terms of our Brian Hill Messi love. He stuck to his guns. He didn't succumb, to our sort of kind of bubble over here on the Irish Hotspur, and he's showing the opinions that you can find over on Tottenham on Tour. So, Danny, tell me about Tottenham on Tour. Any live shows coming up, or like shows that maybe we should watch that have already happened, or anything?
Yeah, so we've got we'll be doing some more stuff over the summer, like everyone. We've got a couple of new shows in the pipeline. Hopefully we're gonna get started before the season starts. If not, it'll be just after. A kind of show that no one has got on, which will be kind of new to the Spurs community. So we hope that one, if we can get it running, it'll take off. We're going to be doing some more kind of morning stuff as well. I think Brian's going to be doing his Daigle Digest or Tottenham Digest, we say, and I'll be doing some morning stuff. And then we're going to do some more pop-ups really, as and when we see things coming on, or if we're available to do things. But yeah, we've got some more stuff, and then I think we've got the Ask Us Anything as well, which we do as a pop-up now and again. We need to get the around the clock rule going again for the start of the season.
I was enjoying that.
Yeah, the round the clock rule is, I think all of us are enjoying that, and it's good. I think what we want to do with that one as well, I think we're gonna it's because Brian's been over here. I've been busy. Sean's been busy. Alex has been busy. When we do have that on for the last hour, we're going to open it up to some whoever wants to come on, just to kind of have their say on what we're discussing. So we're going to kind of make that like a call in as well towards the end of that show. So Dave, Jack, if you want to come on and challenge Sean and Mr. Deluded himself, by all means jump on. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming on. So yeah, please get over to subscribe to Tottenham on Tour, and you find me, Brian Ireland, and of course Mr. Brian Daigle himself. And yeah, for anyone who hasn't subscribed or liked this stream tonight, please
Oh, we got
subscribe to the Irish Hotspur and the Flat Cap Euro Talk, because they're brilliant channels, brilliant lads, absolutely have all the time in the world for these guys. As much as they try to get me on, a lot of the time I always say I'm busy, because normally I am, or I'm in Amsterdam. But when
you're
I can,
always away, Danny. You're always off doing
I know. Mate, I wish it was better. Trust me, it's not as all well and good as it seems. But when I've got time, I will come on here and I will support you guys, because I love coming on here. And yeah, just if anyone hasn't, just smash that like, smash that subscribe, and also get over to Tottenham on Tour, because you're going to see a lot more of me ranting this summer. I'm telling you that for a fact. There's already people, I'm having arguments with people on Twitter every day about shit. So come over.
Yeah, Danny. I always see Danny in altercations, not altercations, but debating with people on Twitter. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Everybody, please do get over there. Check out Tottenham on Tour. Absolute brilliant channel. Some great people involved in it. Danny, Brian Ireland, Mr. Daigle, Adam. There's so many good people. They always get on good guests as well. So guys, you won't regret it. Get over there, smash the subscribe button. And we're going to let Jack plug his channel now as well. And guys, just randomly, I'm just going to throw a few channels in at the bottom. Hopefully more streamers, everyone else can start doing this. Let's start sharing the love around the Spurs community. Let's start bigging up all of our own streamers, rather than having to sit there, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, all these people, they all have their big communities and all their channels are thriving. So let's do the same with the Spurs channels. But Jack, I'm going to put in the 3 Spurs boys, Tottenham Gold, and I'm going to put in Bob Spur a lot more, just to kind of share love around the community. But Jack, plug that Flat Cap Euro Talk.
Pietro Hincapié video has just been, released. If you want me to say that beautiful pronunciation of the player's name, feel free to, check it out one more time. I don't see him coming to Spurs, but basically the whole point of my channel is I basically take whatever bogus rumor or legit rumor is out there, and I just say, what if he did come to Spurs? Maybe why are Spurs looking at him? What could he bring to Spurs? What type of player is he? I don't really like to talk about, the legitimacy of rumors or anything. I kind of leave that more to the professionals. I just like to talk about, what type of player are Spurs looking at? Is this the right type of signing? Is this, the right fee? All that sort of stuff that maybe some people ignore. I think a lot of people do enjoy, and I have really appreciated the support so far. Kind of my big goal was to reach 1,500 by the end of the summer. By the looks of it, I think we're probably going to smash that unless everything goes wrong by the end of the season. But really do appreciate the love so far. Also, really must say, really appreciate a lot of people from Flat Cap Euro Talk that have kind of come over to the Irish Hotspur by the looks of it. A lot of people that I feel like I normally see a lot on Flat Cap have kind of, been in the chat here on the Irish. And I do really appreciate you guys kind of merging those worlds, a bit more. And I just love all the support. And I must say, I think tomorrow, we're going to have a stream with Darius and Kieran like we usually do. So check that out as well. I've been trying to keep my promise with one live show a week. I think we've kept that for the most part so far. So if you are looking for a good live show, maybe around 6 p.m., check out Flat Cap as well.
No, 100%. Look, guys, I told you before the season, you're going to need it over the transfer window. Some players are going to be linked with. And look, it's no shame in it. We just might not know who they are. Well, Jack does. So, he'll give you all the latest updates, give you a fact file, exactly what they're good, what they're bad at. Sometimes, if you're lucky, if it's a good day, you get the highlight reel. So get over there, smash that subscribe button. Not only does Jack work hard here, but he also works hard over there. So, guys, get it done. So, look, guys, as you can see, I'm putting some links in there. I'm going to put one more in there today, and it will be Paxton Road well, guys. And then every day we'll just put in some more different ones if you want, other channels, if you want to share the love, if there's other people streaming when we're not, or whatever it may be. Jack, do you want to just put Paxton Road there?
I'll do off the Paxton Road. I would just say quickly, everybody, while we're kind of tuning out with Paxton Road, someone who I kind of borrow a lot of his time, Darius, someone who you're probably quite aware of, maybe, on flatcapeurotalk. I would say he actually originally, I did steal him from someone else's channel. It is Paxton Road that I stole him from, and they have really good personalities over there. I would say his dad, Shane, I absolutely love, or you might know him as Sam, as well as, Sid, Mike Hotspur Hustler. You also have Sean, who's a new addition to the channel. We have two really good Seans in the Spurs community. And then we also have Judge Jody, Dave, which is one of the best player ratings to be on in the business as well. So Paxton Road, show them the love and support. I watch them myself. I always say that. I watch them myself, so I would check it out.
No, 100%. Everybody do get over there. Check these channels out. Strong them or in their Spurs Talk show as well for Shawnee. Everybody do get over, check these channels out. Also, Aussie Spur TV, I believe, is starting up his own channel. Said like that we're inspiring them. That's absolutely incredible, my man. So everybody, if you can, get over to Aussie Spur TV as well. Smash that subscribe button. Look, at the end of the day, I keep saying it to people, everybody else hates us, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I wake up in the morning, I love being hated. I go to bed, I love being hated. I absolutely love that everybody else hates Tottenham. So all I ask is for us Spurs fans to do is, if everybody else hates us, is to show each other the love. Guys, it's been an absolute mammoth stream. It's been a good one. It's been fucking great to be back with you all, talking everything about our great football club. A big up to Adam, Danny, who really helped contribute to this panel today, really helped make the show what it was. A massive credit to Jack for filling in while I was gone, but also getting the show ready today with them great questions. So massive thank you to these guys.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me, guys.
Nah, it's been a pleasure. But you guys out there, Tottenham Hotspur fans, absolutely incredible support today. Absolute mammoth. I want to thank you for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and super chatting. This channel will only get better with your help. So thank you very much. Look, there's nobody else streaming right now, or I would plug it. So there's not. So I'm sorry. You are going to have to go to bed, unfortunately, or some of you are awake, and it's morning. You will actually have to go to work. But guys, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Plenty more content coming out. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
In Conte
we trust.
A good one. I can feel it. Let's get ready.
On,
I can feel it coming.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Here we go.